This is Atomic Shinobi, and today I'm going to narrate third part of What If Naruto Was Trained by 5th Mizukage During Chunin Exams. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
3 months after Naruto's arrival, Kiri Naruto ate another sea apple to breathe underwater so he wouldn't drown. Naruto was currently at the bottom of a lake wearing weighted vests and ankle and wrist weights. The bad news is that the effects only last for an hour. He had to walk 1 mile while carrying weights to get to the other shore, and he had only covered half of that distance with his 15 minutes remaining. As Naruto walked with the weights, he thought, oh man, this is hard. 200 pounds of weights with increased resistance of the water. Man, how did I get myself into this? Watasumi was swimming next to him in her shark form, wearing a weighted vest, right next to him. Watasumi urged her brother, keep going, big brother. You're almost there. Just keep pushing. She was having trouble swimming with the weights on. Naruto responded, you're right, I can't give up, as he accelerated his pace. My muscles burn, but I can handle it, he remarked, advancing cautiously. I simply need to keep my thoughts busy, he uttered, drawing Watasumi's attention. Watasumi said, consider your friends in Konoha, and Naruto nodded. As he lumbered on, Naruto remarked, yeah, great idea. He wondered how the elderly man was doing. In Konoha, with Hiruzen and Sume as part of their new daily routine, Hiruzen, dressed in civilian clothes, and Sume were having tea inside the Inuzuka compound. So how did your doctor's appointment go yesterday? Hiruzen asked Sume. Sume set down her tea and took a quick glance. Sume grinned and remarked, it went pretty well, placing her hand on her stomach to reveal her growing baby bump. So far there are no signs of problems or anything we should worry about. You know, even though it was unintentional, I'm glad this happened. Sume said as Hiruzen looked at her. The happiest moments of my life were when I was raising Hana and Kiba. Now I get to relive all those magical moments all over again, she replied. I feel the same way, Hiruzen said, leaning in to kiss her on the cheek. I thought I was too old to have this again. But now I have a new wife and a baby on the way, Hiruzen added, eliciting a quiet smile from Sume. In addition, there is an additional benefit associated with this, he remarked, leaving Sume perplexed. Sume asked, which is, and the Kiba entered carrying a tackle box, fishing poles, and a smile. Kiba exclaimed, yo dad, you ready to go fishing? I got some fresh bait. Let's hook him, to which Hiruzen grinned. As Sume stood up, Hiruzen whispered to him, I can have a son and not make the same mistakes. Let's go, Kiba. Don't wait up, Sume. Then, he went over, put his arm around Kiba, and the two of them left the house. Sume grinned and said, boys, as she continued to drink her tea. I wonder what you'll be. I hope another girl, she thought as she peered down at her stomach. Returning with Naruto as Ao stood behind Naruto on a flat rock in the middle of a lake, he said, you must learn how to see in water in order to master water. Naruto nodded, adding, this will also help you with your shark sage training as well, because this will help you focus your sensory abilities and chakra control. Ao then sat down next to Naruto and closed his eyes. With his hands in the water and his fingers starting to glow, Ao said, watch closely. Naruto nodded. Using the chakra in your fingertips, you can sense everything inside this lake. The fish, the plant life, even the smallest shift in the sand. After a few minutes of waiting, Ao finally said, a fish will jump out of the water 50 feet away to the right. Naruto snapped his head and witnessed the fish do as Ao had predicted. Holy crap, that was amazing, Naruto exclaimed. Let me try, he added. Ao nodded and stepped back to watch Naruto. Like Ao, Naruto inhaled deeply, closed his eyes, and sent chakra to his fingers. He then lowered his hands into the water and started to sense his surroundings. Using his chakra, Naruto felt around, but he could hardly feel more than a few feet in front of him. He declared, I don't see anything. Unexpectedly, Naruto noticed a bright blue dot inside his head. Hey, look what I see, he exclaimed, pulling his hand out of the water. It's a small blue dot, but I can. Naruto was bit by a catfish on his index finger, its teeth digging into his flesh. Stupid fucking fish, he yelled, retrieving the fish and returning it to the water. Wow, that hurt, he exclaimed, starting to suck his finger. Ao gave Naruto a tickle when he said, wow, you really are a dunce. Seeing in the water takes time and patience, boy. Right now you can only see dots a few feet in front of you, but when you are as experienced as me in Kisame you can scan this whole lake. Ao continued, giving Naruto a wide-eyed expression. You can see the size of the fish, the species of fish and even which way it's swimming, Ao stated. Sensory may not be as flashy as ninjutsu or taijutsu, but it is still necessary for a ninja to be well-rounded, Ao stated. Ao said, now try again, and Naruto gave a nod. As he lowered his hands into the water again, Naruto moaned, okay, fine. Man, Karen would have a field day doing this. She is a way better sensor than I am. In a place on Earth, with Tayuya, Kurama, Itachi, and Karen. Just before Itachi, donning his weasel mask, chopped off the man's head with a sword, the man begged, no please. Itachi flicked the blood from the blade and turned around. As Itachi left the room, he thought, looks like another dead end. He emerged into a warehouse filled with boxes and crates. Itachi looked up as a dead body dropped from the scaffolding above him and landed with a wet splat. Any luck, Tayuya? Itachi exclaimed. Clad in a boar mask, Tayuya leapt to the ground and landed gracefully. Nope, nothing, she said, placing her hands on her hips. These assholes don't know shit about Deidara or Sasori. What made you think they might know anything? Itachi sighed. Itachi ran his fingers through his hair and said, Deidara was part of a terror bomber ground. These med were smugglers. They gathered the ingredients Deidara used to make his C4 chakra clay. Reaching up to his intercom, he said, another operation gone bust. Karen. Anyone left around? Itachi replied. Donning a falcon mask, Karen stood on the roof and used her keen senses to survey the surroundings. Yes, I see 3 people approaching from the east gate in a wagon. They're probably dropping off a shipment, she exclaimed. Over the intercom, Kurama said, I got them, babe. Relax your pretty little red head, giving Karen a tickle. Karen, take this seriously, she said, but all she got was a laugh. As the wagon passed by, Kurama, dressed as a fox, peered out from behind some crates and noticed 3 men pulling what appeared to be moonshine in the back. This is the last delivery for you, Kurama thought to himself as he removed his short sword and crept up to the wagon. The wagon driver exclaimed, Hey, where the hell is Todoroki? He should be out here claiming the shipment. Another person said, he probably fell asleep again. Well, he better. The final man started, then stopped. As Kurama materialized in the center of the wagon, all 3 of their heads dropped off with an indiscernible plop to the ground. After wiping his blade clean, Kurama grinned and stopped the wagon, thinking, mission accomplished. Before he exited, he picked up a jar of moonshine, thinking, don't mind if I do. Over the radio, Kurama declared, targets neutralized. Itachi declared over the radio, this mission is a bust. Sanitize the area and let's head home. Tayuya, Karen, and Kurama started erasing any trace of their presence while Itachi was formulating his next course of action. Itachi thought to himself, hiding a smile behind his mask, all I need is one good lead and then we can take them out. At least on the way back, we can stop off in Taki. It's been a while since I've seen Fu. Returning with Naruto as Samahada approached him quickly, Naruto raised his sword to block him. However, Kisame slamming it into Naruto caused the boy to skid back into the ground. As he swung his blade to the side and grabbed Naruto by the neck, Kisame remarked, haha. You're getting better, kid. But still not good enough, Kisame yelled as he threw Naruto into a tree. Naruto struck the tree, causing the other trees to tremble, leaves to drop, and bark to break. Naruto groaned as he hit the ground, but he had to get back up to avoid Raiga's lightning wielding ball. Raiga yelled, run you little shit run, as he started to shoot lightning bolts at Naruto, who started to duck. As he started to use hand signals, Naruto brandished his sword on his back and yelled, water style. Water shark bomb jutsu. His canteens burst open, revealing a single water shark that charged directly at Raiga. When Raiga realized this, he leapt out of the shark's path and charged at Naruto. But, before Raiga could kill him, Naruto again reached for his sword and struck him with its blunt edge. Raiga leapt up and onto the sword's blade, kicking Naruto, who ducked beneath and flipped his blade, knocking Raiga off balance. When Naruto got close, he swung his sword at Raiga, who parried the blow with his swordsmanship and sent the weapon flying into a tree. Naruto then spun around and kicked Raiga in the ribs, nailing him in the face. Naruto uttered the word, crap, as he sprinted past Raiga, avoiding her slash. With a sly smile, Kisame approached Naruto, placing his sword on his back and striking a taijutsu stance. Come on, kid, "Want the sword have to get past me," he uttered. Along with a smile, Naruto leapt and launched a flying round kick at Kisame, which Kisame parried with his forearm, but Naruto persisted in his attack. Kisame avoided a punch that Naruto threw at him. Then Naruto used the same hand to grab Kisame and flip over him, behind him. Upon landing, Naruto made the hand gesture, "Water Clone Jutsu," and shouted, "Shadow Clone Jutsu," as 10 water clones materialized from the water in his canteens. Suddenly, 10 shadow clones also came to life. Kisame grinned when Naruto sent all the clones to keep him busy while he went to get his sword. As he started hacking at the clones, Kisame thought, "Using 2 types of clones good strategy. Man, this full contact training is tough. Even after 2 months I still can't beat Raiga, let alone Kisame," Naruto thought as he looked at the 2 Kiri Junin preparing for round 2. He reached for his sword and pulled it out of the tree before resuming his stance. "I wonder how Kakashi-sensei is doing. It's a shame he couldn't train me like this," Naruto thought to himself. Alongside Kakashi with one hand tied behind his back, Kakashi was currently climbing a mountain. As he hopped up, he grabbed onto another ledge and felt a tingling sensation in his arm. "Damn, I'm at my limit," he thought to himself and closed his eyes. As he felt chakra shoot through his body, Kakashi thought, "First gate. Gate of opening. Open." He then launched himself upward and started climbing even faster, thinking, "I must get stronger." As he climbed the mountain, he thought to himself, "Then when I do, I'll make it up to you, Naruto. I'll be the sensei I always should have been." Returning with Naruto now that he was seated at a desk in the Mizukage office with May, Naruto sighed as May approached him carrying a stack of books. May grinned and said, "Okay, Naruto, time for your tutoring." Naruto winced. May gave Naruto a gentle tap on the head after he said, "May, I have a question. I mean, I get studying jutsu and stuff by why math, science, and calligraphy. Knowledge is necessary for every ninja," May replied. "I mean if you don't gain knowledge you'll end up as some muscle bound meathead rushing into battle with reckless abandonment," she replied. In the meantime, Kumo suddenly the Rakage sneezed. He peered around warily, thinking, "Someone just talked about me, I know it." Returning to Kiri, "Let's begin with my favorite subject, calligraphy," May said, smiling broadly as she reached behind her to retrieve some paper and brushes. Knowing he had no other option, Naruto nodded. "Calligraphy, huh?" thought Naruto. "I'm sure Hinata would enjoy this, given that she comes from a fancy clan and all." Alongside Shino and Hinata standing in front of the Hyuga compound with Hiyashi, Shino said in a monotone voice, "If my calculations are correct, that will be at about 10 p.m. or 10:30 at the latest. I shall bring Hinata back once the movie is over and we have eaten at a restaurant." "Very well. Just make sure you treat her with the respect she deserves." Hiyashi nodded in response, and Shino nodded as well. Hinata said, "Are you ready, Shino?" as she left the house wearing her light blue sundress. Shino extended his arm for Hinata to hold onto and said, "Yes, Hinata. Shall we go?" "I hope you have a good evening, Dad," Hinata wished, and Hiyashi gave a nod. "Enjoy your evening," Hiyashi said as he made his way back inside, passing by the training field where Hanabi and Renmara were sparring. Renmara ducked under a strike from Hanabi, flipping her over with her hand as Hanabi landed on her back but got back up to press the attack. As he left, Hiyashi mused, Hinata dating the Aburame heir and Hanabi dating future 7 swordsmen. At least I know they will be safe in the future." Returning with Naruto, Jiraiya started talking as she watched Naruto hold his right hand while Rasengan whirled around at a dizzying speed. Jiraiya said, "Okay, now try using with your water like we practiced," to which Naruto nodded. Then, Naruto's water emerged from his canteen and surrounded the Rasengan in a ring. Jiraiya continued, "Good, now try and insert the water into the Rasengan and mix it." "All right, let's get started," Naruto said as the water started to trickle into the Rasengan and started to rotate. "So far, so good," he remarked. Naruto was trying to keep control of the jutsu when the Rasengan started to spiral out of control. "Oh shit," he said as he tried to stop it. Water started to shoot out after a water blade nicked his cheek, causing blood to squirt out. "Gah crap," he exclaimed as he let the Rasengan die and the water returned to his canteen. "Well, it's back to the drawing board," Jiraiya sighed at this. "We tried mixing it, inserting it, Jiraiya mused. Jiraiya triumphantly raised his finger and remarked, Maybe we should try forming it while it's in water. Holding a bandage over his bleeding cheek, Naruto said, we'll never know until we try. Let's do it, he said, but Jiraiya raised his hand. Jiraiya grinned and said, let's try tomorrow. You did enough for today. Besides, dinner is going to be starting soon. Naruto nodded. Okay, tomorrow then, Naruto said, grinning as Jiraiya tousled his hair. Come on, let's chow down, he yelled, bolting from the scene. Laughing at Naruto's antics, Jiraiya thought, wait up, as he ran after Naruto. So much like Kushina, I swear, Jiraiya exclaimed. May's residence Naruto and Jiraiya entered the house, wafting in the scent of cooking food. You're here, Watatsumi said, perched on a kitchen stool. My fish stew is almost done, she grinned and stirred a big pot. With a tray full of sizzling ducks, Kisame entered the house from the back. Smoked ducks are done, he declared, setting the ducks down on the table. May said as she entered the room, I got some dumplings and veggies here. She held 2 bowls, one filled with dumplings and the other with spiced vegetables. Well, come in and sit down, May said, setting the food on the table. Jiraiya and Naruto approached the table where Ao and Raiga were seated to play cards. Raiga greeted Naruto with a, welcome back, kid. Lord Jiraiya, welcome to Naruto, Ao nodded. Naruto glanced around at everyone he saw talking and going about his business. His girlfriend May, his younger sister Watatsumi, his senseis Jiraiya, Raiga, and Ao, as well as his somewhat cool uncle Kisame. Naruto laughed and watched them all take a seat. Naruto grabbed everyone's attention by saying, my favorite part of the day is family dinner, and everyone smiled. May, who was seated next to Naruto, gave him a cheek kiss and Naruto returned the favor. May said, okay, everyone, let's eat, and everyone started grabbing food. They all ate and chatted the entire night long as the outlaws, sharks, and ninja family had their fill. Location unknown in a cave with multiple other projections and 3 real people, a hologram of a person stood atop a statue's finger. Itachi and Kisame both defected and Orochimaru, Kakuzu, and Hidan are both dead, the figure said, looking around. 50% of our members gone, he added. A hologram with a hunchback asked the now famous Pain, so, what is our plan, Lord Pain? Sasori, Deidara. From what Zetsu has told me, Itachi is hunting you 2 down. Stay in the shadows and stay on your toes, Pain said to the hunched figure. We must stay our hand until the time is right, the 2 nodded. Deidara grinned and said, I'd like to see Itachi try. I've been waiting for an excuse to blow him up since the day I met him. One of the real people standing on the statue's finger spoke, telling Deidara to stay away from him. The person took off their hood to reveal Sasuke Uchiha and his telltale Sharingan activated. He's mine to kill and mine alone. Get in my way and I'll kill you, Sasuke said with a scowl. Good fortune comes to those who wait, the other person said, pulling off their hood to reveal a pale man with 2 red dots tattooed on his forehead. Patience, Sasuke, they said. Sasuke scowled as he turned to face the pale man. Shut up, Kimi Maru. You're lucky to even be here, Sasuke said. If it weren't for Zetsu, you and Jugo would have been left to rot in that bunker in Oto, said Sasuke. Sasuke, please stop talking to Kimi Maru in that way, Jugo said in an attempt to reassure him. When the Akatsuki discovered Kimi Maru and Jugo among the last of Orochimaru's surviving partisans, they killed everyone else but the 2 because they believed they would be valuable assets to their group. In order to keep Kimi Maru alive, Sasori replaced his lungs with prosthetics, and Pain made Jugo more cooperative by making mental adjustments. Silence you 3, Pain ordered, putting an end to their argument. We will stay in the shadows for the next 3 years, and when the time is right, we will strike, he declared before turning to survey his surroundings. Pain and the other holograms disappeared as he said, stay hidden, that is an order. Emerging from the shadows, Madara Uchiha declared, 3 years is more than enough time to prepare. 3 years of training and preparation, he added. Madara turned to face Sasuke, telling him to get ready to kill Itachi. When Sasuke heard Madara say, to kill the woman who killed your master, Kimi Maru grimaced as well. Madara turned around and said, there is no time to waste. Follow me. We must begin. Sasuke, Kimi Maru, and Jugo all did as Madara instructed, leaving the room empty and shrouded in darkness. Road to Konoha. 3 years following Naruto's departure. As the Konoha gates appeared in the distance, May, Jiraiya, and Naruto were all strolling down the road. Finally back, Jiraiya grinned. Those 3 years flew by he said to May, who nodded. May grumbled, it was too fast, in my opinion. I can't believe my love will be gone from me for 3 years. Suddenly, Naruto leaned over and gave her a quick kiss on the cheek, holding her close. With his trademark smile, Naruto said, don't worry, May. I'll be back on the weekends and whenever I take time off, I promise. May nodded, a tiny smile spreading across her face. May observed how much Naruto had evolved over time. At 5 foot 10 inches, Naruto was about 1.5 inches taller than her. He was dressed in a black, dark blue, muscle shirt with the Kiri symbol on it, black cargo pants, sandals, and a larger version of the jacket that May had given him before he entered the Chunin exams. Naruto had cut his hair because it had grown longer during his training and was now faded on the sides, with the top part only reaching his eyes because of his Konoha headband. The executioner's blade and Kisame's rigorous weight training, however, had made Naruto's arms and chest much more muscular, even though he was still the same upbeat and optimistic Naruto inside. This was the biggest difference in Naruto, though, as his arms protruded beneath his jacket. Then, Naruto's expression changed, saying, I know I was a dick to him before I left, but I hope me and him can bury the hatchet. He is still my sensei. Man, I can't wait to get back, he exclaimed with a spring in his step. I can see G and his kid, Old Man Tucci, Ayame and Chojiro, Karen and Kakashi sensei, Naruto said. Forgiving someone for wronging you is a big deal, Naruto. But if I know Kakashi, he will do everything to do the same to you, Jiraiya said, patting his shoulder and grinning at him. And who knows, maybe he can help you on the water Rasengan, Jiraiya continued, to which Naruto nodded. May turned to Jiraiya and Naruto and said, I can't believe after 3 years you two could not find a way to make one. I mean, you two busted your asses. Naruto prodded his fingers together and said, I tried my best. Jiraiya remarked, I'm a sealing expert, not a ninjutsu expert. Even Minato couldn't figure it out. May began to perspire. May thought, maybe I shouldn't have brought that up. The Hokage office in Konoha, just a little longer, Tobirama, Hiruzen said to the young child perched on his lap. Just a little longer and you can meet your uncle, he grinned. Tsunade and Hiruzen were waiting in the Hokage office for Naruto and Jiraiya's return. He was a spitting image of Hiruzen, and he hoped that one day he would become a great shinobi. Hiruzen was holding his 2.5-year-old son Tobirama Sarutobi Inuzuka, named after his late sensei. The boy had brown spiky hair like Sume, but his face was similar to Hiruzen's except for the Inuzuka clan tattoos on his cheeks. A knock on the door startled both Tsunade and Hiruzen, so Tsunade said, Come in, from behind the desk. Naruto, May, and Jiraiya entered, saying, Hey Granny Tsunade, G. Long time no see. Naruto grinned brightly. Hiruzen got off the couch and carried his son over to Naruto. Naruto, my boy, you're back, he said, introducing Naruto to his son. Naruto. Saw hello to your nephew Tobirama, Hiruzen added. Hey buddy, how's it going? I'm Naruto, Naruto exclaimed, looking shocked. Whoa, he looks just like you G. The young boy reached out and grabbed his finger, pulling it towards him. Tobirama uttered, Nawubo, in a childlike voice. May walked up and said, Oh, my god, he's so precious. Can I hold him please? Hiruzen nodded. May picked up Tobirama and held him close. Hey there cutie. Oh, you're a big boy aren't you? May said. Tobirama smiled and looked at her. May held him out and said, Hey, and he put his hand on her breasts. No touchy, May said. Tobirama giggled and clapped, and May forgot all about it. Oh, I can't stay mad at you, May said, nuzzling the little child. See sensei, it's not a mistake, Tsunade responded. Little twerp has a groping problem. I swear if we're not careful we'll have another Jiraiya on our hands, she replied. Wrapping his arm around Tsunade, Jiraiya said, Ah Tsunade, I know deep down you missed me. Tsunade remarked, like a hernia, before grinning and welcoming Naruto back. Welcome back brat, Tsunade said, adding, So have you got stronger or is that whole get up just for show? Naruto then stuck his tongue out. Get real granny, said Naruto. I've been working my butt off. I can't beat May, pervy sage or Kisame yet, but I'm getting there, said Naruto. The voice said, well, I expect nothing less from you, Naruto. Naruto turned to face Kakashi, who was sitting there and appeared to be doing nothing special. Yo, he said, holding up his hand. Kakashi-sensei. Naruto grinned. Kakashi grinned back, appreciating that Naruto had chosen to pardon him even though he knew he still had a long way to go. What are you doing here? Naruto asked, approaching to shake his hand. I called him here to test you. Tsunade replied. I figured training with an S-rank ninja and 2 cage-level ninja you're going to be more of a challenge. So Jiraiya will go out with the two of you while you both spar. Tsunade replied. Hiruzen said, if it's okay with you, I'd like to go too. I'm also curious to see how much you've improved, to which Tsunade nodded. Tsunade looked at May and said, very well, you four go and spar. May nodded. Me and May here have something to discuss. Tsunade continued. Okay, let go and finish this, said Naruto as he, Jiraiya, Hiruzen, and Kakashi vanished in a cloud of leaves. May approached Tsunade, who was still holding Tobirama, and sat down across from her. May continued to play with Tobirama. Okay, so what cage stuff we need to discuss? Tsunade leaned over and pushed a button. Suande said, perplexing May, Shizune, grab Tobirama's bag and get ready to leave to the Inuzuka compound. Oh, this isn't cage talk. This is girl talk, May responded, nodding. May grinned and said, well, what are we waiting for? Lead the way, as Tsunade started to lead May outside. Alongside Jiraiya, Hiruzen, Kakashi, and Naruto. Jiraiya, Hiruzen, Kakashi, and Naruto all arrived at the former training ground of Team 7. Man, it feels like a long time has passed since I was here, Naruto remarked, surveying his surroundings. I remember it was you, me, Sasuke, and Sakura, he said to Kakashi. By the way, where is Sakura? Naruto inquired, and Kakashi's eyes smiled. Kakashi stated, she's been moved to personnel. Alongside Sakura. Sakura had been in this department for more than 3 years. She hasn't been training, going on missions, or searching for her missing Sasuke. Instead, all she has been doing is typing reports and clerical work. Sakura was currently hammering away at a typewriter alongside more than a dozen other people in the same room. Sakura became enraged and thought, this is such fucking bullshit. She was moved here because, quite honestly, her mission reports and her performance in the Chunin exams proved a hard and simple fact. As she typed out another report, she thought to herself, just you wait, I'll be out of here and back in the field. She was a bad ninja who relied on Naruto and Sasuke to do the fighting and heavy lifting. Reunited with Naruto and the group, Jiraiya remarked, Personella, that's for assholes. Hiruzen gave him a stern look and moved forward. I volunteered to be in personnel for 4 years, Hiruzen stated, to which Jiraiya raised his hand in protest. In an attempt to stop Jiraiya from giving him the finger, Naruto uttered, okay, back on track. So, Kakashi-sensei, how do you want to do this? He asked Kakashi. Kakashi nodded and mused, you can use the blunt side of your sword in any jutsu you want. I'll refrain from using my Sharingan as I've improved it so much it would be unfair to you, he said, grinning. Naruto grinned and said, oh really, okay deal, don't cry when I beat you. Kakashi waved him off and leapt away, causing them to stand a few hundred yards apart. Naruto took his sword and assumed his stance as Kakashi said, ready whenever you are, pulling out a kunai and charging it with lightning chakra to form a physical blade on his hand. Jiraiya laughed when Naruto uttered the words, call it pervy sage. As he and Hiruzen stood on the sidelines, Jiraiya said, okay then, picking up his hand. Begin, he said, dropping his hand. Naruto and Kakashi charged at each other, sending sparks flying as their blades collided. Kakashi felt the weight of Naruto's weapon as it struck. Well then, you did get stronger, Kakashi replied. First gate. Gate of opening. Open, he said, activating the first of the 8 gates to increase his strength and bring him level with Naruto. Jumping onto Naruto's blade, Kakashi attempted to kick him in the face, but Naruto stopped him with his hand, catching Kakashi's foot. Kakashi then spun, trying to kick Naruto with the heel of his other foot, but Naruto ducked and withdrew his blade, allowing Kakashi to jump off and land in a crouch. In an attempt to subdue Kakashi, Naruto brought down his blade on its flat side. However, Kakashi sidestepped and hurled the kunai toward Naruto, blunt end first. Naruto moved his head in time to prevent the kunai from lightly burning his cheek, then dug his blade into the ground and raised a chunk of earth as if he were using a shovel. Unexpectedly, Kakashi staggered back, losing his balance for a split second. Naruto charged forward, kicking Kakashi in the chest, sending him flying backwards before landing on his back. "Wow, Naruto, that kind of tickled," grinned Kakashi. "You still haven't seen anything," smirking, said Naruto. Alongside Hiruzen and Jiraiya raising an eyebrow, Hiruzen remarked, "Naruto has improved his taijutsu and his kenjutsu. I say he's about even with Kakashi without his Sharingan." Kisame and Raiga worked on their sword skills while May and I worked on honing our taijutsu, Jiraiya remarked, "But ninjutsu is a whole different story." Hiruzen nodded as they observed. Alongside Naruto, after stabbing his sword to the side and biting his thumb, Naruto started to make hand gestures. He then threw some water from his canteen onto the ground and slammed his hand into a puddle, calling out, "Summoning jutsu," as a cloud of smoke billowed. Now about 4 feet long, Watatsumi transformed into a shark and hopped up to Naruto's shoulder. Naruto grabbed her and placed his hand on her stomach, saying, "Ready." Shark javelin attack, Watatsumi yelled as she got closer to Kakashi. "Let's do this, big brother," Watatsumi said. Naruto cocked his arm back and threw Watatsumi like a football, spinning her fin blades towards the startled Kakashi. Watatsumi passed over Kakashi, forcing him to bend backwards at a 90-degree angle. Watatsumi's blades only caused a small cut on Kakashi's flak jacket. When Kakashi stood back up, he felt his back crack. "Oh damn, my back," he moaned. Naruto was charging towards him with his sword, and as he prepared, he heard footsteps behind him. "What?" Kakashi asked as he turned around. As Watatsumi kicked Kakashi in the head during her human transformation, she yelled, "Hya!" She was holding 2 kamas in her hands and was dressed in a dark gray kimono and blue sandals. After ducking under Watatsumi's kick, Kakashi saw Naruto slashing at him. He immediately leapt back, signaling, "Shadow Clone Jutsu." Kakashi then made a clone and both of them pulled out kunai, observing Watatsumi and Naruto charging at him. "A combined attack. Interesting," Kakashi remarked as he and his clone charged in. Alongside Jiraiya and Hiruzen, a summon to aid him in combat," grinned Hiruzen, "just like me and Enma." "Yeah," Jiraiya replied. "He loves her like a little sister. By the way, she's going to stay here too. She only goes back to the summoning world to see her mom once every month," he said with a nod. Alongside Watatsumi and Naruto in a fast-moving battle of blades, Watatsumi and Kakashi's clones struggled to hit each other. "Ha ha ha," Watatsumi laughed, "this is fun," and the clone grinned back. The clone swept Watatsumi off her feet and was about to punch her when she rolled and hopped back up. "Darn, almost got you," he said with an eye smile, and Watatsumi laughed. "I'm glad to hear that," Watatsumi said. As neither of them could land a blow, Naruto and Kakashi were swinging their blades at one another. Realizing that this was not working, Naruto yelled, "Watatsumi! Combo attack!" As she and Naruto retreated to the river, Watatsumi exclaimed, "Okay." Naruto nodded in response. "Let's rock," Naruto said, and he and Watatsumi quickly went through a series of hand gestures before stopping. They both yelled, "Water style! Shark tidal wave," and as the wave approached the water, hundreds of water sharks with their mouths open could be seen. The water behind them started to rise about 30 feet into the air and move forward toward Kakashi and his clone. Kakashi and his clone were brought above the wave just as it hit, the water now only 3 feet away from the top. Kakashi looked over to his clone and saw he was still there. "Oh shit," Kakashi thought as he and his clone went through hand signs before slamming his hands to the ground. "Earth style. Earth pillars," he shouted. With a sudden leap out of the water, Watatsumi transformed back into a shark and jumped in front of Kakashi's clone, yelling, "Chomp! Chomp!" before dragging the creature beneath the surface as the tide subsided and giving Kakashi memories of the clone. Kakashi thought, "Damn, she's brutal," then gave himself a mental shake and told himself, "No shit, she's a shark," as the wave subsided and he leapt off his platform to see Watatsumi and Naruto standing a short distance away. Naruto grinned and said, "Thanks, little sis. You can go and wait on the sidelines." Watatsumi hurried to the sidelines to stand next to Jiraiya and Hiruzen, saying, "Okay, have fun." "Hi, I'm Watatsumi. Who are you?" she asked, glancing at Hiruzen. Watasumi giggled as Hiruzen patted her head and said, "Hello dear. I'm Hiruzen, former 3rd Hokage. And you are as cute as a button." "Alright, Naruto," Kakashi uttered, "let's see who can use water jutsu more effectively." Naruto grinned in response. "You're on," said Naruto. Kakashi and Naruto both stopped on their last hand sign, indicating that they were going to use the river's water for their attack. Water Dragon emerging from the water, Kakashi uttered, "Water style, Water Dragon Jutsu." "Water Shark style, Great White Juggernaut," yelled Naruto, and a gigantic water-based Great White Shark materialized out of the water, lunging toward Kakashi's Water Dragon. As both casters watched in anticipation, both water creations clashed, fighting for dominance as everyone waited to see whose just you would prevail. Kakashi's attack was faster but less powerful than Naruto's, and both jutsus fought for dominance. When the water poured down, soaking both Kakashi and Naruto, Kakashi's Water Dragon wrapped around the ladder and burst its seal. "Crud. You win, Kakashi-sensei," Naruto cried out in acknowledgement of his defeat. "Aw damn it. I was so close," Kakashi chuckled as he approached, patted Naruto on the shoulder, and grinned. "Wow, that was pretty close. Nice work, Naruto," Kakashi remarked, causing Naruto to smile. "I think you could beat me with my Sharingan with a few more years of training," Kakashi continued, evoking laughter from Naruto. Raising an eyebrow, Kakashi said, "I need to use my Shark Sage mode if you do that," Naruto replied. "Oh really?" replied Kakashi, laughing. "Well, maybe next time then." Watasumi, Hiruzen, and Jiraiya approached the two drenched ninja. Hiruzen was impressed and said, "Well done you two. You both put up quite a fight." "Excellent work, big brother," Watasumi exclaimed as she leapt to embrace Naruto. "And you too, Mr. Kakashi," she added, giving him a hug in return. Jiraiya turned to Naruto and said, "We still have a long way to go, but it's a long and tedious journey to success. But enough about that. Let's celebrate with some ramen." Watasumi and Naruto both cheered. They both exclaimed, "Yay ramen," much to each other's delight. With Shizune, Sume, Tsunade, and Mei, Sume said to a somewhat inebriated Mei, "So, wait, you two haven't done it yet," setting down her cup of sake. "I mean, you've been together for 3 years so far." "I agree," Tsunade responded. "Me and Dan were like rabbits every chance we could get." "You seriously haven't banged at all," she replied. Shizune, blushing, said, "Iu-sensei, don't talk about you and my uncle like that," as she played with Tobirama. Mei drank another drink and said, I know, but Naruto wants to wait for a special moment and I'll respect his wishes." "But damn, I'm anxious," Mei said. "I mean, we've been through so much. And we even saw each other's faults," looking embarrassed. Retrospective Mei had just returned from her office and was on her way to the bathroom when she noticed Naruto sitting on the toilet with a porn magazine and touching himself. "Oh man, I'm so tired," Mei thought to herself as she turned the handle of the door. Trying to hide his shame, Naruto yelled, "Mei, oh god, get out. Oh god, I just saw him. And I saw his," Mei exclaimed as she exited and slammed the door. "And I always told him to knock before entering," Mei thought as she made her way to the second bathroom. The flashback concludes. You know how many times Kibas come back with lotion in a black bag. Boys will do that even if they have a woman. Sume shrugged. "So, you saw him rubbing one out. Big whoop." She continued, taking another drink. "I mean, Hiruzen doesn't because, well," Sume smirked. "I keep him busy if you catch my drift." Mei slammed her head on the table. Mei said, "Crap," and Tsunade gave her a back pat. Tsunade, sipping another drink, remarked, "There's no denying that boys are weird." Alongside Naruto and the rest, while eating ramen, Naruto felt someone was talking about him and sneezed into his jacket. From behind the counter, Shojiro inquired, "So, Naruto, how has it been with you and Lady Mei?" He has been assisting Ayame and her father in running the ramen stand while he isn't training or doing missions. Before taking a bite of ramen, Naruto remarked, "Oh, it's been great. I mean, we have our ups and downs, but mostly good," he added. "There is one thing that kind of ticks me off," he added, drawing attention from everyone. Jiraiya inquired, "Huh, really, what is it?" with curiosity. Retrospective Mei was sound asleep in her bed when she heard Naruto fart loudly enough to wake her. She sat up and turned to face him, slapping him on the shoulder to wake him up. Confused, Naruto said, Huh. What? May said, you are so gross, before settling back down and confusing Naruto. As he reclined, Naruto mutely exclaimed, what the hell did I do? The flashback concludes. Everyone laughed when Naruto said, I mean damn woman. Quit blaming me for that, you do it too. Jiraiya remarked, Naruto never tries to understand women. Hiruzen remarked, they are fickle creatures. Ayame. A woman never farts, but she toots. That's the difference, she said, giving Naruto a sly smile. As he chewed his meal, Naruto remarked, that's exactly what she says, girls are weird. As Watasumi chewed her seafood ramen, she thought, huh, women don't fart, they toot. She was perplexed. Later on in the evening, May cried, I'm F. Fine, as Naruto and Watasumi pulled her into their new home. Naruto shook his head. Naruto said, babe, you're drunk, just let me help, knowing that May would fight him. Come on, off to bed, he added. May said incoherently, hey, I don't want to go to bed, as they dragged her into her room. Naruto and Watasumi then threw her onto the bed, saying, I am your Mizukage and your girlfriend. I don't have to. May continued, exhausted, before passing out and snoring. May was now in her bra and underwear as Naruto tucked her into bed. Naruto leaned over and kissed her cheek, causing her to smile subtly. Come on, Watasumi. Let's go and watch some TV, Naruto said, and Watasumi nodded. Both Naruto and Watasumi laughed at this. After Watasumi left the room, Naruto turned to face his inebriated partner and thought, I love you, May. Despite all of your flaws, you are still the most beautiful girl in the world. May said, I love you too, Naruto, as she momentarily awoke before falling back asleep. With a smile, Naruto left the room. It's going to be one more week until you return to Kiri, he thought to himself as he made his way to the living room. I'll cherish every moment of it. 2 weeks subsequently, Yugito Ni was returning from a mission when she passed through a town close to the Kumo border. She stopped and turned around because she felt uneasy. I know you were there, Yugito said, extending her claws. Come on out, she commanded, and two figures, one a pale boy with 2 red dots tattooed on his forehead and the other a tall boy with orange hair, stepped out of an alley between 2 buildings, wearing black cloaks with red clouds on them. They took off their stray hats and observed the blonde Kumo Kunoichi. The pale boy said, Yugito Ni of the 2 tails. Yugito scowled and said, I'm Kimi Maru Kagaya. Kimi Maru then pulled a bone sword out of his shoulder and removed it. And I need you to come with us peacefully, he said in a calm voice. Yugito said, how about fuck no, as her Bijuu chakra started to seep out. That's great, Kimimaru said, then glanced over at Jugo. Jugo, please restrain her, he said. Jugo nodded as his body started to take on the appearance of a curse. As Yugito prepared to defend herself, she thought to herself, crap, who are these guys? Yugito and me. In Kumo with a bone sword embedded deep into her stomach, Yugito Ni, clad in her blue fire form, lay on the ground in excruciating pain. Her cloak vanished and blood began to pool around her as she glanced up at the 2 Akatsuki members who had just defeated her. It did not have to be this way, Kimimaru remarked, as Yugito glared up at him, as the curse marks on Jugo and Kimimaru's faces faded as they looked down at the wounded 2 tails container. Fuck. You, Yugito choked out, turning on her beacon just before she passed out without Jugo or Kimimaru noticing. She's out, Jugo, would you kindly pick her up? Kimimaru asked. Of course, Jugo replied, taking Yugito in his arms while taking care not to cut her or kill her. The 2 then started to move toward their hiding place in a nearby nation. In Kumo concurrently, a puff of smoke and a cat summon materialized in front of the Raikage, who was waiting for Yugito to return from her solo mission while seated at his desk. The cat called out, Lord Raikage, it's an emergency, and stood up when it realized it was one of the cats from Yugito's summoning contract. What happened? A asked, glancing at the tiny cat. Ms. Yugito has been taken. Her beacon was activated. She is being taken the Akatsuki we have been warned about, and she's being taken south. We need to help her, the cat said, holding out a tiny flashing responder. I can't send a recovery squad south. The Land of Frost won't allow us unless we give them a request, and the Land of Hot Water won't care. He yelled as he picked up his desk and threw it out the window. Upon realizing that Yugito was friends with the Mizukage and that the Mizukage was seeing someone else, a Konoha native named Ninetails Container, Figured it would be worth a try. He stood up and started to march toward the door. Mabui, find us our fastest messenger hawk and prepare a message to the Mizukage. There's an emergency and we don't have time to lose. Get Darui in here, he yelled as he left his office and closed the door. Kiri. After a few hours, May had returned to Kiri and was in her office reviewing reports about recent missions with Kisame, her new bodyguard. As they were going through documents, a hawk flew to the windowsill and started pecking at it. May jumped up and exclaimed, "Huh, a messenger hawk." The bird turned to reveal the scroll and seal, and she said, "It's from Kumo," looking perplexed. "And not just that, but that messenger hawk has a gold seal which is used for emergencies only," Kisame said, standing up. Upon hearing this, May became alarmed and seized the scroll. May opened it quickly, read the message, and then paled as she turned to face Kisame. "I need one of your sharks to take this to Naruto," May said. "Right now." Kisame bit his finger and proceeded through hand signals while she yelled, nodding in response. A short while later, in Konoha, with Watasumi and Naruto. Seated beside Hinata, Hanabi, and Shino at the Hyuga compound, Naruto watched Watasumi spar with Renmara. Renmara had somewhat matured since he was now the same height as Naruto had been before he left. His hair was still the same length but had been combed back to keep it out of his face in a fight. Watasumi and Renmara charged at each other, and Renmara went on the attack. He swung his practice sword at Watasumi, who raised her kamas in an X pattern to block the blow. With the sword lowered, Watasumi lunged towards Renmara, kicking him with her left leg. However, Watasumi blocked the kick with her right arm, forcing Renmara to retreat and go on the defensive. Naruto looked at Hinata and Shino and exclaimed, "Wow, Renmara has really improved. And you helped tutor him." Hinata shook her head. "My father has taken a liking to Renmara, but not as much as Shino," Hinata smiled and said, looking at Shino as they held hands. "My father helped train Renmara in taijutsu and kenjutsu. Me and Lord Hiyashi have a lot in common," Shino stated. "We both enjoy peace and quiet, talking about philosophy and about Hinata's improvements in her shinobi skills," said Shino. "At times I discussed his coldness towards Hinata and how it negatively affected her," Shino said, "and since then he and Hinata have began repairing their relationship, according to him." "Well, I'm happy for both of you," Naruto remarked. "Especially you, Hinata. I'm glad you moved past that guy you liked." Hinata's eyes widened. "I told Shino that he seemed like kind of a tool. But look at you now, a couple. Life is strange," he replied. "Yes, it is," Shino replied, and Hinata grinned as she observed the altercation. Hinata stared at the altercation between her ex-boyfriend and her crush, thinking, "Even if I love another, you will always have a place in my heart, Naruto. You will always be my idol and my friend. Go, Renmara. You can succeed," Hanabi urged, and Renmara grinned at her encouragement. "All right, then," said Renmara as she shot ahead in a blur of speed. "Take this," he said, slashing at Watasumi who had blocked with her kamas. Renmara then pivoted on his heel and struck Watasumi in the ribs. The blow made contact, causing Watasumi to cough. All of a sudden, Watasumi disappeared in a cloud of smoke, leaving everyone else in disbelief save for a terrified Renmara. Renmara cried out, "Ag, I killed her." He meant to say, it was just a light hit that would leave a bruise. "Calm down, Renmara," Naruto said as he stood up. "Her dad was probably just checking in," he added, ruffling his hair, and Renmara sighed. "Oh, thank God." Hanabi rushed over to give Renmara a hug after he said, "I was worried there for a second." Hanabi kissed Renmara's cheek and said, "You're so silly sometimes." Renmara blushed. "Hanabi," whimpered Renmara, "not in front of my friends," as the others laughed. Watasumi reappeared a few minutes later and hurried to Naruto. "Naruto, May sent a message to you to give to the Hokage. Something bad has happened," she uttered, and Naruto accepted the scroll. Naruto said, "Damn it. Okay, let's go," and Watasumi nodded. Shino got to his feet and said, "I'll come too." Hinata stood up and said, "As will I," to which Naruto nodded. Naruto said, "Let's go then," and he and his three allies took off, grabbing their swords. Hokage Tower. After a short while after reading the note from May, Tsunade exhaled and turned to face the people in front of her. Naruto, Kakashi, Hinata, Shino, and Watasumi. "It seems like they are moving now," Tsunade thought to herself. You all nodded when Tsunade said, "As you all just heard, The Raikage has requested our help by relaying a message through Kiri. Kakashi will lead this squad to the land of hot water. Your two objectives are to find and recover Yugito ni and kill any Akatsuki present. Excellent, stated Kakashi, and Tsunade gave a nod. Along with that, I have ordered Weasel and his squad to join you. Tsunade advised them to meet them at the front gate. There is no time to lose. Tsunade spoke, and Kakashi gave a nod. Kakashi said, "Okay everyone, pack up your gear and let's go," and the other four nodded. Balling up his fists, Naruto thought angrily, "Sons of bitches, I won't let you get away with this." The front gates of Konoha as Kakashi, Naruto, Hinata, Watatsumi, and Shino drew closer to the gates. They saw four Figurisa Naruto, Itachi, and Kurina clad in Anbu armor and masks resembling animals. Running up, Naruto said, "Yo guys, what's up?" Karen greeted Naruto with a hug and a, "Hey, Naruto, I haven't seen you in a long time." "I'm sorry, we just got back from a mission." Naruto waved her away. "No issue. Falcon, hee hee hee." Naruto laughed while quoting her name. Karen rolled her eyes at how innocent Naruto seemed. Karen said, "You are still such a jackass," and Naruto protruded his tongue. "Heya, Weasel," Naruto asked Itachi, glancing at him, "how have you been?" And Itachi gave him a nod. "I haven't coughed up blood in 3 years, so everything is a lot better." Itachi approached Tayuya, who was wearing a boar mask, and chuckled, saying, "Also me and Boar here have been together for over a year now." Tayuya nodded, startling Naruto. "Yes, this guy and I really click," Tayuya remarked. Itachi laughed and said, "Huh, ain't you dating that green-haired girl from Taki?" in response to Naruto. "Yes, but due to my clan's rarity I have been put into the CRA," Itachi remarked. Tayuya and Fu are both okay with it. "But I still need to locate 2 more girls who are willing to accept me." As Itachi spoke, Naruto gave a nod. Naruto remarked, "I don't know how you do it, I'm a woman man." In numerous parallel universes, the Narutos from the universes of Money and Malice, Set in Stone, Loyalty and Lies, and Ashigaru Kitsune all sneeze simultaneously. Returning to the narrative, turning to face Kurama, who was wearing a fox mask, Naruto scowled and said, "Fox." "Naruto!" exclaimed Kurama. Hinata inquired, "Is there a problem between them?" To which Kakashi and Itachi both laughed. "It's beyond imagination," they both exclaimed. Entering between them, Karen said, "Boys, please play nice. My wish is that you pass away gradually due to an incurable illness." Kurama grinned behind his mask. Naruto grimaced and uttered, "I hope you get sealed into a rock at the bottom of the ocean." Karen said, throwing up her hands in defeat, "Why'd I even try?" The 2 squads dashed out of the village gates toward the land of hot water as Kakashi said, "Okay, enough of that, let's get going." The others nodded. Land of warm water. The following day, a Gedo statue with 2 hands protruding from the ground was visible as Kimi Maru and Jugo, who were carrying Yugito, entered a cave and sealed it with a boulder. Kimi Maru said, "Jugo put her in the middle," and Jugo nodded. He then moved forward to position Yugito in the middle of the space. Following that, Jugo and Kimi Maru leapt onto a finger and gestured. A short while later, multiple holographic figures materialized. Pain said, "You have finished the mission," and Kimi Maru nodded. "Yes, Lord Pain," replied Kimi Maru. "Are we ready to start?" he inquired, and Pain turned to face Sasuke. Sasuke nodded in response to Pain's question, "Are you and Tobi ready?" "Yes," Sasuke replied, his hologram glowing in his Sharingan. Under his alias, Tobi, Madara declared, "Tobi is ready, sir." "Sasori. Are you and Deidara ready? This will require 3 days. If there are pursuers, then the traps will hold them off long enough for us to finish," Pain said, as he and the others started going through hand signs. Sasori and Deidara nodded in response. Tobi, Kimimaru, Jugo, Pain, Konan, Zetsu, Sasori, Deidara, and Sasuke all finished on the last sign. Sealing Jutsu. 9 Phantom Dragons. Pain yelled as 9 chakra dragons materialized and struck Yugito, causing her to become suspended in midair while her Bijuu chakra was being extracted. Afterwards, alongside Naruto and his gang as they dashed through the forests, Naruto, Kakashi, and the others crossed the border of the land of hot water. "Hey Kakashi-sensei, are we on the right track?" Naruto asked, and Kakashi nodded. Damn it, where is she? Naruto thought to himself. Falcon, Hinata, use your abilities to scout ahead, Kakashi said, and they both nodded. From what this beacon finder that was in the scroll says, we are heading in the right direction, Kakashi continued. Hinata thought, Byakugan, and summoned her Dujutsu. Karen closed her eyes, focused her senses, and thought, Mind's Eye of Kagura. Hinata and Karen both scouted ahead, but as they approached a clearing, Karen opened her eyes and Hinata paled. Stop, they both yelled, and everyone came to a stop. While Itachi, Kakashi, Shino, and Naruto stared in shock at what they saw, Tayuya shook in terror and exclaimed, Oh fuck, seriously fuck me. Ahead were more than 500 of Orochimaru's test subjects, all of whom had helmets with seals engraved on them and had their curse marks activated. Itachi inquired, Boar, who are these guys? Tayuya flashed a toothy smile. These guys are Orochimaru's test subjects for the curse mark. Tayuya informed everyone. These are the ones who failed and went insane. Me and about 6 or so others were the only ones who survived without losing their shit, said Tayuya. Tayuya questioned, but what are those helmets? Probably are the work of Sasori, Itachi said as he spoke up. He always was an intelligent man. It wouldn't surprise me if he made those in order to control these poor souls, said Itachi. Kurama was the source of the sudden laughter that was heard by all. So these guys are nothing more than mindless meat puppets, he exclaimed, drawing his sword. Fine with me. I'm itching for a fight, he added, eager to start the fight. As he lifted his headband to reveal his Sharingan, Kakashi remarked, Looks like we have no choice. Kakashi commanded, Naruto, Hinata, Shino, Wadasumi get ready. Wadasumi clutched her kamas, Naruto clenched his sword, Hinata assumed a soft fist stance, and Shino's insects materialized from his sleeves. Itachi pulled out his ninjutsu and said, Let's work as fast as we can if we want to save Yugito. Time is of the essence here. Tayuya removed the portion of her mask that covered her mouth and removed her flute, and Karen called forth some chakra chains. As his years of training were about to be put to the test, Naruto inhaled deeply. Wadasumi on me, he said, and Wadasumi nodded. Let's waste these guys, he continued. Alongside Wadasumi and Naruto screamed, Rog, and slashed 3 of the curse mark test subjects in half with the executioner's blade. The test subjects surrounded Naruto and his allies as he slashed in a frenzied manner. He had killed about 5 so far, but it was becoming harder. As Naruto raised his sword to prevent another test subject's hammer, like appendage from crushing his head, the enemy's durability was enhanced by the curse marks, which also gave them superhuman strength and speed. After kicking him out of the way, Naruto turned to face Wadasumi. Under the test subject's claw, Wadasumi ducked and raised her kamas, severing the arm from the elbow downward. The enemy's head fell to the ground as Wadasumi decapitated him by jumping up and spinning in the air. Wadasumi was thrown across the ground and kicked in the stomach by an enemy who charged at her, intending to kill her as soon as she touched down. But Naruto stopped him when he threw several kunai, striking him in the head and chest. Then, Naruto killed him by beheading him. Naruto said, You okay? To Wadasumi, who nodded. Wadasumi hopped up and assumed a defensive stance, saying, Yeah, I'm fine. She then asked, How many are there? There's no end to them. Naruto uttered the words, Kill now, talk later, as he and Wadasumi returned to combat. Alongside Itachi and Kakashi yelled, Reikari, as he dove into an opponent's chest until he reached his elbow. He then kicked the man out of the way and avoided a second enemy who was attempting to attack him from behind. When the enemy was above Kakashi, he pulled out a kunai and stabbed it through the top of his head, killing him. After landing, Kakashi remarked, This is annoying, and pulled out another kunai. Itachi, thinking that this was taking too much time, used his ninjutsu to hack and slash at the curse mark test subjects in an attempt to delay them. Itachi struck a test subject in the shoulder, but his sword became lodged. When Itachi attempted to free it, the subject clung to his sword, refusing to let Itachi take back his weapon. With a kick and hand signals, Itachi chased the enemy into another group of test subjects and used the fire style fireball jutsu to launch a massive fireball near them. When Itachi noticed more enemies charging at him, he pulled out a tanto in preparation for self-defense as the fireball struck the enemies, setting them on fire. Alongside Karen and Kurama chuckled, Ha 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 ha, as he used his sword to cut through another foe. Come at me, you mindless pawns, Kurama yelled, charging into another group of test subjects. As Karen sent her chakra chains through the stomach of another test subject, she thought, God damn it, Kurama. She then killed the enemy by ripping him in half. Can you please take battles seriously? This isn't as easy for us as it is for you, Karen thought to herself. As more adversaries gathered around her, Karen started to swing her chakra chains, slashing and slicing away at them. Majestic Fox Firestorm, Kurama thought to himself as he cut another enemy in half and proceeded through hand signs. A wave of golden fire spread around him, scorching the ground 20 feet in diameter and scorching any enemies in the attack's path. As more adversaries surrounded him, Kurama stood back up and resumed using his sword. I haven't had this much fun in a long time, he thought to himself as he dove back into the melee. Alongside Shino, Tayuya, and Hinata after instantly killing another test subject with a blow to the heart, Hinata pivoted on her heel to confront an additional adversary approaching from behind. Hinata jabbed the enemy in the liver, causing it to burst and causing him to scream in agony. She was able to see anyone approaching for a sneak attack because of her Byakugan. Moving closer, Hinata struck once more, this time causing the enemy to cough up blood as her blow to the aorta burst. She completed the attack by hitting him in the throat, crushing the windpipe. The enemy dropped to the ground dead. Hinata regretted killing the people because she knew there was no other option and they hadn't chosen to do this on their own. When Shino's beetles swarmed him, Hinata was forced to turn around and face another foe. Keep up the pressure, Hinata, Shino commanded. If we keep at this rate we will thin them out, and Hinata nodded. Correct, Hinata replied. Shino did not turn around as an enemy approached from behind, but he was spared the trouble as Tayuya's Doki crushed him with its club. Tayuya yelled, damn it, me and Hinata are working our asses off and you get to stay stationary, as she dove under a blow and struck the assailant in the head, forcing him to retreat. It makes sense, Shino remarked, sending his swarm in once more. You and Hinata protect me and my beetles, and I use my beetles to take out the enemy at long and medium range. 12 test subjects were attacked by the beetles, who quickly drained their chakra to the point of death. So far, I have eliminated 65 enemies compared to your 27 and Hinata's 15. So in conclusion, I'm making a larger impact on the battle due to you and Hinata protecting me and my insects as I'm not a close range fighter, the test subject declared. Tayuya received a tick mark. Damn it, how the fuck can I argue with you if you make a good point, she yelled, taking up her flute again in an attempt to calm her Doki, which she considered to be a useful asshole. Alongside Watasumi and Naruto, another enemy was sliced in half by Naruto's sword. Swing, leaving him covered in blood from head to toe. Attempting to cut through these test subjects was like cutting through stone, and Naruto was panting heavily because he knew that his sword would have long since broken down to nothing if his executioner blade hadn't had the ability to mend itself. Naruto thought to himself, panting, there's no end to these guys. He drove his sword into the ground and started to go through hand signals, water style, dwarf shark bullets. When Naruto's canteens exploded, water shot out of them in the direction of some enemies. As the water raced in that direction, it transformed into dozens of tiny sharks. The tiny water sharks entered the first line of enemies and punctured through, leaving pong sized holes in their bodies. They then entered the second line of enemies and continued to puncture until they dispelled. As more adversaries drew near, Naruto thought, another dozen down, and raised his sword. Watasumi used her Kama to slit into another enemy, striking him in the neck. She was startled, though, when her Kama broke from excessive use. No, she thought as she leapt away. While doing so, another enemy charged at her. She spun, cutting off his legs with a low blow, but in the process, her other Kama broke. The enemy on the ground attempted to swipe at her, but she dodged and sprinted in Naruto's direction, yelling, Naruto, my Kamas are broken. I need a kunai. As soon as Naruto saw her, he pulled out a kunai and threw it to her. Naruto threw it towards Watasumi, shouting, here. Watasumi caught it and moved behind Naruto, making them face each other. Naruto and Watasumi were now surrounded by the enemies, and both of them were panting from exhaustion. Shit, Naruto exclaimed. I don't know how much more I have in me. I feel like I'm fighting Kisame. We must continue, Watasumi uttered. Use Yora. Watasumi started, but she was cut off. Naruto and Watasumi were both taken aback when a massive panther formed of black lightning effortlessly tore through the adversaries. What the hell? Exclaimed Naruto, shocked. Alongside Itachi and Kakashi, even though Kakashi and Itachi were still engaged in combat, two white blurs covered in lightning suddenly started to slice through their adversaries from the side. The two blurs approached them and started talking. "Are you the Konoha ninja assigned to save Yugito?" inquired a girl with dark complexion and long, spiky red hair. "Yes, we are." "Who are you, Kakashi Hitaki?" inquired Kakashi. "This guy here is my teammate," Karui remarked. "We are Kumo ninja." A boy with dark skin introduced himself as Omoi and said, "Nice to meet you," while sucking on a lollipops. Itachi said, "Let's end this. We're nearly done." The others nodded. "Save the introductions for later." Alongside Shino, Tayuya, and Hinata, there were only about 8 enemies left between Hinata and Tayuya. And just as Tayuya was ready to send her doki after a 4th group of test subjects, they were quickly eliminated by a lone ninja. With her tanto coated in lightning chakra, Samui descended into the center of the group. She then spun around and slashed one of them in the throat, causing him to splatter blood. The 2 enemies that remained charged Samui, but she was ready. She swiftly spun around and kicked another in the face, causing his head to snap back and breaking his neck. She turned around and executed a backflip over them, using her tanto to decapitate them. As their heads hit the ground, she landed and turned to face a dumbfounded Tayuya. Tayuya yelled, "Who the fuck are you?" Samui gave her a composed look. "I'm Samui. Jonin of Kumo," said Samui. "I'm also one of your reinforcements. Sorry for the delay," she replied. After using his bugs to decimate the final enemies, Shino turned to face Samui and said, "There's no need to apologize. We appreciate your assistance." Samui nodded. "That's cool," Samui remarked. "Now let's mop up." She paused briefly to glance at Hinata, who had an anxious expression on her face. Many were unaware that Hinata was afraid of Kumo ninja because of her experience of nearly being abducted. Samui approached her and observed her. Hinata flinched at Samui's and she grinned slightly. "We have similar hairstyles." "Pretty cool," she said. Taken by surprise, Hinata nodded. With trepidation, Hinata said, Thank you," and Samui withdrew. "Let's get this done," Samui said, alongside Watasumi and Naruto. "Gra!" Naruto exclaimed as he dispatched a second foe. He then turned around, raised the sword above his head, and struck another. As Naruto was panting and heard a sound from behind him, he sliced the other enemy in half from the head down, causing the 2 pieces to fall to the sides. A calm-voiced man with dark skin and white hair told Naruto to stop when he spun around, ready to fight. "Stop please. I'm an ally. My name is Darui," Darui replied. Panting, Naruto turned to look at him bewildered. Naruto gasped, You from Kumo," and Darui nodded. "Yeah, we're here to help you," Darui replied, glancing around to see the blood-stained ground. "But it seems like you did most of the work," he added, and Naruto nodded. As he and Naruto turned to face the fallen foes, Darui remarked, "Looks like the battle is over. Let's regroup." Naruto nodded and dropped to his knees, panting from exhaustion. "Sounds good," he said, chuckling. "I need some water," he added. At night, after a few hours as Karui sutured an arm wound, Tayuya yelled, "Gosh shit. Be careful, damn it." Karui angrily replied, "Hey, shut it. I didn't have to do this for you." She then proceeded to insert the needle one more. Tayuya sighed, whatever, while Karui carried on with her work. In a camp, gathered around a fire were Naruto, his group, and the Kumo ninja. They were all dressing their wounds and tallying their weaponry at the moment. Watasumi was studying a sword and sucking on a lollipop that Omoi had given her. Watasumi smiled and said, "Thanks for the sword, Mr. Omoi. I promise I'll give it back when the mission is over." Omoi waved her off. "No big deal, keep it," Omoi replied, grinning. "I have an extra and a dozen more back in Kumo." Itachi questioned the person eating a can of food, Darui, "So what took you so long to get here?" "We were delayed due to bureaucratic red tape," Darui stated. "We were sent to assist you by the Raikage. When he got permission, we crossed the border and rushed here as soon as possible," according to him. "Thank you," Kakashi said, putting his sprained hand back. "I'm glad you did. If we had fought any longer, we might have been overrun." Darui nodded. "So, is this Naruto?" Samui asked. glancing at the warrior who was only wearing a dark blue muscle shirt and a pair of black combat pants because all of his other clothes had been destroyed by the blood. "Are you the swordsman that Yugito said is in a relationship with the Mizukage May Terumi?" Naruto smiled and nodded. "Yes. How did you find out?" inquired Naruto. "Yugito and May are in constant contact. They're pen pals," said Samui. "Yugito told me about what May writes about you. How you are growing stronger by the day and becoming a master swordsman," she replied. Rubbing the back of his head, Naruto blushed. Naruto remarked modestly, "Okay, she's overstating things. I'm not a master swordsman, but I'm improving little by little." He grinned at his modesty and waved to Kakashi, Itachi, Watatsumi, Darui, and Samui. Darui addressed Naruto, who was now wide-eyed, and said, "How about this? After the mission, you and I spar and I can gauge your progress. Modesty is something most swordsmen lack, you know. A Kumo master swordsman versus a 7-dot ninja swordsman. It'll be quite a battle to gauge your skills," he laughed. "You're on, Darui," exclaimed Naruto, sounding excited. "A battle between two new friends sounds awesome," Darui replied, grinning. "We still have a mission to finish, so let's rest up," Kakashi said, and everyone nodded. Naruto yawned and said, "Yeah, you're right, Kakashi-sensei." He then said, "Okay, y'all, good night," as he and Watatsumi got up to go to their sleeping bags. Watatsumi snuggled up next to Naruto as they entered, and Naruto kissed her goodnight and said, "Night, Watatsumi." Watatsumi said, "Good night, big brother," and shut her eyes. Watatsumi and Naruto both nodded off, and Karen laughed, saying, "Well, that's kind cute." Kurama scoffed. Kurama said, "Whatever," and Karen gave him a shoulder slap. Kurama laughed when Karen called him a jerk in a playful way. "I love you so much, baby," Kurama grinned behind his Anbu mask. The following day they had been running for more than 4 hours in an attempt to locate the Akatsuki, with Karen and Hinata leading the group as they ran through the woods. Then Karen sensed a huge chakra signature in the distance. Karen exclaimed, "Hey, I sense something. It's a massive chakra signature, but it's getting weaker." Kurama felt it with his own chakra as well. Kurama stated, "I sense it. It's definitely Matabi," causing Samui and Darui to give him a wide-eyed stare. Samui wondered, how did he know her name? Only Yugito, me, Darui, Rakage, and B knew the true names of the two tails. The group stopped as they saw a huge mountain emerge. Hinata pointed to the mountain and said, "I see 3 figures in there. Looks like 2 are standing still while 1 is unconscious and floating in the air." They all nodded as Kakashi addressed the group, saying, "Okay, everyone, this is it. Let's get in there and save Yugito." "Hold on a little while longer, Yugito," thought Naruto, "we're coming." Within the cave with Kimi Maru and Jugo 15 minutes before Naruto and company arrive. A seal on Kimi Maru's arm started to tingle, warning him that outsiders were getting close to his and Jugo's position. Jugo and Kimi Maru were still standing where they were, sucking the two-tailed Bijuu out of Yugito. The only other person to open his eyes was Pain, who stated, "I need to act now in order to deter them. We still have another day until the sealing is complete." Kimi Maru opened his eyes and said, "We have company. Go and handle them with Jugo and your other ally," Pain instructed. "We will continue the sealing, but we will require more time. We need another 18 hours to complete the sealing," he said with a nod. "That's excellent, Lord Pain," Kimi Maru said. He then approached Jugo and gave him a tap on the shoulder to get his attention. "Jugo, go get him, and prepare for battle. They'll need to divide up to break the seals," Kimi Maru continued. "I'll go north, you go east, and he'll go west," he said, and Jugo nodded. He said, "We will kill them and buy the others some time," to which Jugo nodded. Jugo yelled, "Okay Kimi Maru," and bolted down a hallway. 30 minutes later, with Omoi, Watatsumi, and Naruto. As he and Watatsumi dashed through the forest, Naruto moaned, "Man, why can't a mission be simple for once? We have to deactivate some seals before we bust in. These guys suck." "What happens if we don't arrive in time?" Omoi asked. "If we don't arrive in time, we lose the Yugito, and if we lose the Yugito, Kumo loses the 2 tails, and if Kumo becomes vulnerable," Omoi continued, but Watatsumi hit him in the back of the head. Watatsumi angrily yelled, "Hey, we're going to make it, and we'll save Miss Yugito, with confidence. Naruto yelled, "You're right, Watasumi. All we have to do is get down." Watasumi and Omoi dove to the ground as Naruto drew his sword. With a loud clang, Naruto swung his sword and struck something. When he turned to look, he saw what appeared to be an excessively large sewing needle that was being operated by a length of metal thread. When the figure came into view, he exclaimed, "So this is what the seven swordsmen has become a recruiting foreign ninja. What a disgrace to Kiri." The needle flew back and returned to its owner. It appeared that a boy about Naruto's age had white hair, purple eyes, a purple shirt, and teeth that resembled sharks. Astonished, Naruto exclaimed, "That's the Nuabari Sorda that has been missing from Kiri for over 20 years. Who the hell are you and why do you have that sword?" Naruto yelled, frowning, and the boy laughed. "My name is Suigetsu Hazuka," he smirked, "and my goal is to reconstruct the seven ninja swordsmen." He then scowled. "And I'll start by killing you and taking Lord Zabuza's blade back," Suigetsu said. "Konoha trash like you should not be allowed to wield such a legendary blade," he replied. "Eat a dick, dude," said Naruto. "I'm a real member of the seven swordsmen, not some knockoff wannabe like you," he replied. "Watasumi, Omoi, get ready. We need to wrap this up quick," said Naruto. Watasumi pulled out her sword and said, "Okay, big brother." Pulling out his own sword, Omoi said, "Let's do this." Suigetsu was getting ready and remarked, "This should be fun. 2 novices and a pretender." Alongside Tayuya, Itachi, and Kakashi, the stone bearing the seal appeared on a rock a few hundred yards away as Kakashi, Itachi, and Tayuya hurried to the seal they intended to deactivate in order to save Yugito. Both Itachi and Tayuya nodded, and Kakashi said, "There it is. Let's hurry." As they rushed forward, Tayuya felt a familiar feeling of dread and yelled. Itachi and Kakashi were stopped in their tracks when Tayuya yelled, "Stop." At that moment, bone spikes started to emerge from the ground and move in their direction. Itachi grabbed Tayuya and turned on his Susanoo. The device took a hit from the bone spikes but remained intact, shielding the two of them. Kakashi slammed his hands to the ground, creating an earth pillar that lifted him high off the ground into safety, after noticing the bone spikes that went through his hands and making the sign, Earth Style, Earth Pillar. Itachi, Tayuya, and Kakashi all turned to face the area where the spikes came from, and Tayuya felt her heart race. "Fuck me," Tayuya uttered as Kimi Maru materialized from one of the bone spikes and strode in front of the seal. Kimi Maru turned to face Tayuya and said, "Hello Tayuya. I can recognize that foul language anywhere." Tayuya removed the mask because she didn't see the point in keeping it on. "What the fuck? Why the hell are you here?" Tayuya responded. "Last time I saw your ass you were knocking on death's fucking door," she responded. "The Akatsuki healed me and gave me a new purpose," Kimi Maru stated. "I wish to kill the one who killed Lord Orochimaru, Meitarumi," he stated. As bones grew out of his hands to serve as swords, Kimi Maru uttered, "With the Akatsuki and their power they will help me fulfill my wish, and so you will not pass." "Oh no," Itachi exclaimed, disabling his Susanoo and drawing his sword. "Kakashi, Tayuya, let's get rid of him," he continued, summoning his Sharingan from beneath his mask. Kakashi nodded and lifted his headband to reveal his Sharingan. Tayuya pulled out her flute and remarked, "You're going to die here, you albino freak." Alongside Karen, Hinata, and Kurama as they raced through the woods, Karen and Hinata were scouting ahead to look for trouble. Kurama were all headed to the location they thought the seal was. Hinata and Karen discovered the seal and a guard while they were doing this. Kurama nodded as Hinata stated, "Mr. Fox, I found it, and there is someone there guarding it." Kurama exclaimed, "Great, we got a 2-for-1 deal. I get to kill an enemy and finish the mission." Drawing their attention, Karen remarked, "I don't think it will be that easy. His chakra feels off, like not entirely human," she added. Karen sighed in exasperation as Kurama said, "Oh really?" a smile beginning to appear on his face. "You first had my interest, but now you have my attention." At the edge of a rocky cliff, Kurama, Karen, and Hinata came to a stop. Kurama asked, "Is that him?" And Karen nodded. They saw a tall, shirtless man with orange hair. As a curse mark started to appear on his body, Jugo exclaimed, "You three should flee. If not, you three will." Kurama then threw him off the cliff, stunning Hinata and causing Karen to palm her own face. Kurama leapt after Jugo and exclaimed, "Hey babe, I'll take him on alone. Just deal with the seal and take a breather or something." Glancing over at Karen, Hinata said something concerned. Hinata inquired, "Is he going to be okay?" Karen sighed and shook her head. "He'll be fine," said Karen. "I just wish he'd take battles more seriously. He's not the unstoppable demon he likes to think he is," she replied. Hinata gave her a perplexed look. "Is that exaggeration?" inquired Hinata. "Okay," Karen replied as she and Hinata approached the seal. After giving it a quick glance and Karen inhaled deeply, she said, "I'm going to break the seal. Just keep me covered," to which Hinata nodded. Pulling out a book of seals, Karen said, "Okay, let's get cracking." Alongside Kurama, as Kurama landed in front of Jugo, who was cleaning dirt off his body, he said, "Okay boy," removing his mask to reveal a deranged smile. "Go all out. I want battle to remember," Kurama added. Jugo gave a nod. Kurama scoffed at Jugo as he assumed his final curse mark form and said, "Very well," as his curse mark started to cover his entire body. Kurama asked, "Is that all?" Jugo shook his head. "No," replied Jugo, pulling out 3 vials filled with a dark liquid that contained full artificial curse mark venom created by Kabuto and Orochimaru. They were a failure because every subject passed away. The purpose was to give the cure mark to other people of interest in the event that Orochimaru wasn't present to inject them personally. For those who already possessed the curse mark, it had an unintended consequence. Kurama shook with excitement as Jugo opened the vials and drank the contents. He then started to clutch his chest and cough. His skin turned from gray to black, his muscles bulged and grew, and he started to foam at the mouth. Kurama watched as Jugo, who was already very tall, grew to be 8 feet tall, had muscles the size of tree trunks, and had a feral, insane expression on his face. But Kurama was just grinning and uttering the word, "Perfect," as he began to remove his armor and weapons and release his chakra, eventually emerging in his 4-tail cloak. He had 4 chakra tails that slowed down, long, sharp claws, and fangs. Kurama said, "Well, let's get started, shall we?" Kurama and Jugo charged at one another and started fighting. Alongside Watatsumi, Omoi, and Naruto, Suigetsu dodged and threw the Nuabari at Naruto after Naruto had thrown several kunai at him. Naruto ducked as the sword passed over his head. After the sword went through the tree behind Naruto and into the tree behind it, Naruto got to his feet and raised his sword to sever the wire that was controlling the weapon. When Suigetsu saw that Naruto's sword had struck the wire, he pulled on it to manipulate it, much to his surprise as the sword bounced off. With a quick movement, the sword shot back through the tree and headed straight for Naruto. Suigetsu then used his manipulation skills to direct the wire toward Naruto's head. When Naruto realized the sword was coming his way again, he leaned back. The blade sliced through Naruto just above the eye, only grazing his skin. Blood trickled down the side of Naruto's face as he leapt back and closed his left eye. Suigetsu grinned at his hit, but his joy was short-lived because he heard footsteps behind him. As she slashed Suigetsu at the waist, Watatsumi exclaimed, "Got you." She spun around in front of him, expecting to be cut in half, but was startled by what she saw. Suigetsu's body dissolved into water and was rapidly reforming. As Suigetsu charged towards Watatsumi, he apologized for disappointing her and slashed at her when she raised her sword to defend herself. Watatsumi ducked under Suigetsu's slash and parried it with her sword. She then spun around and attempted to kick Suigetsu in the head, but she lost her balance when her foot went through his head. Suigetsu yelled, "Ha dumbass," as he prepared to strike Watatsumi, but before he could, he heard someone yell. Omoi yelled, "Hey kid, get back," and Watatsumi leapt back, allowing Omoi to launch his attack. Suigetsu smirked at Omoi's stabbing, but it vanished as soon as Omoi gestured with his hand. Omoi had come from his side. As Omoi started to channel lightning chakra through his sword and into Suigetsu, the attacker caused Suigetsu to stiffen in response to the electric current. When Omoi saw this, he drew his sword and kicked Suigetsu out, sending him flying into a tree rather than having his body turn into water. Before Omoi could react, Naruto said, "Omoi, I have an idea. You and Watatsumi go and find the seal. I know how to beat this guy now." Omoi cast a worried glance in Naruto's direction. Omoi asked, "Are you sure? This isn't the time to brag," to which Naruto nodded. Naruto remarked, "I got this." "I Watasumi knows what I'm going to do, and Watasumi nodded. Watasumi remarked, Naruto, it won't be as effective out of water, and Naruto grinned. Naruto said, hey, trust me, and Watasumi nodded before turning to face Omoi and speaking. Watasumi said, let's go, and Omoi nodded after he hesitated. Omoi turned to face Watasumi as they both dashed off in the direction where they thought the seal might be. Omoi questioned, are you sure about this? Watasumi nodded. Watasumi said, Naruto will be fine. Let's focus on finding the seal. Omoi nodded, and the two of them kept running as they left Suigetsu in search of Naruto. After driving his sword into the ground, Naruto started making hand gestures. You are going to regret meeting me in a few seconds, he uttered as he completed the last sign. The water started to swirl around Naruto when his canteens burst open, drawing moisture from the surrounding vegetation to form a sphere of water around him. As Naruto started to transform, 4 small sharks materialized: a bull shark, hammerhead, mako, and great white. These sharks circled around him. With Tayuya, Kakashi, and Itachi slashed at Kimi Maru with his sword aimed for his neck, only for it to come into contact with a bone growing from Kimi Maru's collarbone. Kakashi and Itachi were fighting Kimi Maru in an attempt to kill the former sound ninja so they could continue with their mission. Approaching from the opposite direction, Kakashi brandished a lightning chakra, covered kunai in his hand before lunging towards Kimi Maru, who parried the blow with his bone sword. Kimi Maru was taken aback when Kakashi's kunai unexpectedly sliced through the bone sword midway through their blade clash. In response, Kimi Maru grew bone spikes out of his body and sent them in the direction of Itachi and Kakashi. Both of them leapt back, bleeding slightly. Kakashi had a chest piercing that passed through his flak jacket, but it just broke the skin and missed any important organs. Itachi's arm was cut, but not to the point where it was life-threateningly bleeding. When a doki swinging a club at him, Kimi Maru ducked beneath the club and slashed the doki with his sword, stopping him from pursuing Kakashi and killing him. The doki raised its club again, swung it at Kimi Maru, who leapt out of the way, and showed no signs of pain. As Tayuya played her flute and sent a doki with claws at Kimi Maru, she yelled, "Stay still, you fucker." The doki raised its claws and slashed at Kimi Maru, who leapt over its arm. With his hands aimed at the doki, Kimi Maru fired finger bones in the direction of the doki's head, causing it to stumble back. When Kimi Maru landed and tried to finish it off, a last doki that was bending backwards and had its hands bound kicked him from the side. Coughing up blood, Kimi Maru crashed into a tree and then got back up. Tayuya remarked, "Ha, serves you right, asshole." It wasn't until he got back up and spat some blood out of his mouth that Kimi Maru realized his mistake. With a frown, Kimi Maru turned to face the seal, which was burning from his black Amaterasu flames next to Itachi. Goal accomplished, Itachi exclaimed. Let's get rid of this pest now. He scowled at Kimi Maru from behind his mask. Alongside Shino, Samui, Karui, and Darui waiting for the seals on the cave entrance to be deactivated, Darui watched with his squad and Shino as the barrier enclosing the cave flickered and a layer of the seal disappeared. Darui remarked, "Looks like they destroyed a seal," and Samui gave a nod. Samui asked the guard, "I wonder what is taking them so long." "They are probably being stalled by the enemy," Shino said. He added that, "It's only logical. If the enemy is able to protect the seals and kill all those who try to disable them, then that will buy them the necessary amount of time to complete the extraction process. According to him. And if one of the squads is wiped out, then we will have to send a second squad in order to deactivate the seal and fight the enemy," said Shino. "Damn it, I hate waiting here," Karui replied. "Omoi and the other are out there and we can't help them," she responded. "Be patient, Karui," Darui urged. "We'll need to be here to help Yugito and battle any other enemies that may be inside the cave." Karui reluctantly nodded. As Darui and the others stood sentry, he thought, "Please hurry up and deactivate the other seals." Alongside Kurama. "Ha ha ha, how you like that, human?" Kurama laughed as he continued to slash Jugo more and more across his body. "Gra!" he yelled as he slashed Jugo across the chest with his claws. Jugo screamed in pain. Jugo grabbed Kurama's arm just as he was ready to slash again, snapped the limb, picked Kurama up by the broken limb, and lifted him into the air. Jugo kicked up his foot and stomped down on Kurama's chest, breaking the ground beneath his foot as he slammed him into the earth. The ground shook as Jugo started to repeatedly stomp down on Kurama. However, Kurama caught Jugo's foot as he attempted to stomp down again. "It's my turn," Kurama grinned, rolling over to pull Jugo to the ground before mounting him. With his broken arm healed and functioning flawlessly, Kurama cocked back his fists and started beating Jugo mercilessly. As Kurama struck Jugo with such force and lightning fast speed that it sounded like thunderclaps, the defeated Jugo swung his fist and knocked Kurama off of him, sending him flying into a tree. Kurama crashed into the tree, severing it and the 3 trees behind it as well. Jugo stood up and snarled fiercely, glancing in the direction that Kurama had gone. A flash of red reappeared, and Kurama was grinning there. "This is incredible," Kurama exclaimed with delight. "I never knew a human could be so animalistic, so brutal. This is the best fight I've had since Hashirama," he exclaimed. As his wounds started to heal, Jugo remained silent, his muscles bulging and his body trembling. With a bone-jarring roar, Jugo let out, and Kurama grinned, and crouching down, he declared, "Time for round 2. Hinata and Karen together hearing the roar, Hinata turned to face Karen and said something while still staring in the direction that Kurama had fled with the Akatsuki member. Hinata turned to Karen, who was still working on the seal, and said, "We need to help him. It sounds really serious. I know he's Anbu Buddha." But Karen shot her a sidelong glance. Karen casually said, "Don't worry, he's got it," giving Hinata a startled look. "Trust me, if anything, we would be getting in the way," Karen continued, drawing another line with her ink brush on the seal. Karen stepped back with Hinata and said, "Okay, that should do it. Stand back." The seal had numerous lines surrounding it, and the lines started to glow. Karen and Hinata watched as the seal burned away, first turning to smoke and then exploding into a white fire. The fire extinguished and the seal was destroyed in a minute. Karen plopped down on the ground and opened a scroll, saying, "Well, that's done." Hinata went wide-eyed as she said, "I say it's time for lunch." The scroll opened to reveal 2 bento boxes that Karen had made. "Oh shit, my bad. Do you want some?" "It's chicken teriyaki," Karen said, pulling off her mask to reveal her face to Hinata. Hinata began to perspire at this point. Hinata sighed, realizing that it would be useless to criticize her ally. "Yes, please," she said as she sat down to start an awkward lunch with Karen. Hinata nodded as Karen remarked, "We'll descend in about 15 minutes. Should be enough time for him to finish having his fun." Alongside Shino, Samui, Karui, and Darui, 2 down, 1 to go, Darui declared, and the others nodded as they watched the barrier weaken even more and prepared to break the final seal. Alongside Naruto, when Suigetsu realized that Naruto had finished his metamorphosis, the water dome burst, revealing Naruto's new appearance to Suigetsu. Naruto had grown gills instead of whiskers and had gone entirely black in his eyes. He was now shirtless and was resting his sword on his shoulder. Naruto's complexion had turned somewhat blue, akin to Kisame, but not quite as much, and his blonde hair had dark gray highlights. With a shark-like smile, Naruto said, "Okay buddy," drawing his sword in front of him. Water from the surrounding area started to flow up and onto his blade, covering it and causing it to hum from the rapid vibration. Suigetsu and Naruto together. Suigetsu was furious as he watched Naruto enter his Shark Age mode. "This is unacceptable," Suigetsu thought to himself, having gone from wielding the executioner's blade to claiming to be a 7 swordsman and now utilizing a sage mode that hasn't been seen in over 30 years. "You should not be allowed to live," Suigetsu uttered, drawing Naruto's attention to himself. "Your very existence is an insult to all 7 swordsmen," he said. Suigetsu growled in resentment as Naruto scoffed and grinned, asking, "What's wrong, water boy? You jealous or something? Pissed that a Konoha ninja became a 7 swordsman before you?" "Oh, shit, I just realized that Kisame mentioned you before," Naruto said as he snapped his fingers. "Yeah, I remember. You wanted to imitate your brother Mangetsu, but you crapped the bed on your trials, right? Am I close?" he replied. Suigetsu threw the Nuabari at Naruto's head, forcing him to duck. "Shut up, asshole," Suigetsu yelled. "There won't be anything left for them to bury when I'm done with you." He then ran after Naruto and returned the sword to him. With his sword in hand, Naruto charged towards Suigetsu. As he got closer to Suigetsu, Naruto yelled, "Bring it on." He then started attacking using the water on the ground. Naruto controlled the water so that it covered his blade. The water formed at the edge of the sword, and he launched his attack. Suigetsu was confident in his body's ability to avoid Naruto's sword swing, but it wasn't until he heard a buzzing sound and noticed Naruto's blade vibrating that he attempted to do so. Suigetsu attempted a sideward leap, but the sword struck him in the right side. Suigetsu leapt away from Naruto, screaming in agony as he did so. Looking down, he saw something that startled him. Suigetsu's body was broken, with a 7-inch long gash. However, the most startling thing to him was that his body was healing more slowly than usual. Naruto thought, "It seems that what I witnessed from Omoi wasn't a coincidence. He may be immune to physical attacks, but his water body isn't as immune as he thinks," he reasoned. Naruto thought, elemental attacks can hurt him, and he reverted to his previous stance. "What's wrong? Giving up already?" he exclaimed. After his wound had healed, Suigetsu glared at Naruto, yelling, "You're a fucking dead man," as he raised his sword and lunged in at him. Alongside Kurama was running on all fours along the ground when Jugo came charging at him. Jugo cocked back his fist and punched Kurama in the face. When Kurama saw the punch coming at him, he leapt to the side and launched an attack on Jugo, slamming both of his claws in front of the man. Kurama sank his teeth into Jugo's shoulders, holding on to him tightly. He then flipped over Jugo's head and crouched down behind him. With a quick turn, Kurama targeted Jugo's Achilles tendon with his claw, severing it and causing Jugo to cry out in agony. Kurama continued his attack as Jugo dropped to the ground. He leapt onto Jugo's back and started to slash and claw at Jugo. On the other hand, Kurama was lifted above his head by Jugo, who reached behind himself and grabbed him with both hands. Kurama was then thrown back onto his knee by Jugo, who broke his spine, as heard by a loud snap as Kurama struck the knee. Jugo then slammed Kurama to the ground and started to kick and punch him quickly. The force of Jugo's attack was so great that the ground shook and cracked. Jugo continued doing this until an explosion directly in front of him propelled him into the air. After landing a few dozen yards distant, Jugo turned to face the crater where Kurama had just been. "I never thought I'd have to use a mini Bijuu bomb against a single human," Kurama thought as smoke began to pour out of his mouth. At that moment, his twisted and broken body started to snap and reset itself. Kurama's twisted spine straightened on its own, and he sat up. "But he's no normal human though," he thought to himself as he extended his right hand. "Let's see if this works." With a smile on his face, Kurama thought, "Huh, looks like all that time training with that brat paid off, and not bad for my first time either." He focused his chakra in his hand until it formed into a red Rasengan. With an enormous roar that rocked the earth, Jugo charged at Kurama, who prepared to strike back with his red Rasengan. Jugo threw a punch at Kurama, who returned fire with a red Rasengan. The blow struck Jugo in the fist, causing severe damage. As his momentum carried him up Jugo's arm, Kurama's Rasengan butted through his fist. As he landed behind him, Kurama's Rasengan sliced through Jugo's arm, severing it in half. Kurama finished the fight by charging forward, leaping onto Jugo's shoulders, and sinking his claws into his neck as he roared in agony while clutching his broken arm. Jugo attempted to swat Kurama away, but to no avail as Kurama started to twist and turn Jugo's head. Blood started to spray and flesh started to stretch as Kurama started to pull up on Jugo's head. With one last pull, Kurama achieved his desired result. After tearing off Jugo's head and leaping off his body as it hit the ground, Kurama held onto Jugo's head until the curse mark started to disappear and Jugo resumed his human appearance. Kurama gave a scream of triumph and held up his head. Alongside Karen and Hinata, an animalistic scream echoed through the air, and both Hinata and Karen ran to where they heard the explosion. Karen nodded as Hinata worriedly questioned, "What is that?" "It's otherworldly." From behind her mask, Karen uttered, "I'm sure Fox has everything handled." "Oh man, I hope it's not too bad. We have to keep a low profile for a reason," she worried. Karen peered out from behind her mask as she and Hinata walked into the clearing, and Hinata flushed and covered her eyes. Just prior to Hinata and Karen's arrival, Kurama found himself fully nude, drenched in blood, and clutching Jugo's severed head. He was unaware that his cloak had burned away from his clothing. Kurama turned around, oblivious to everything, and grinned, "Hey babe, you made it. Look, I beat him. He was by far my second strongest opponent." He turned to face Karen and Hinata, who were both standing a few yards away. "Oh my god, are you kidding me?" Karen exclaimed, blushing. "You can't just expose yourself like that, especially in front of Hinata." She gestured to the bashful Hyuga girl. Kurama grinned and said, "Oh, I get it. You're jealous. You just don't want another woman to see my perfect bod." But before he could finish, Karen threw a chain at him. Kurama nervously nodded as Kiri yelled, "Put on some cloths now, or so help me God I will whip you until we get to Konoha." As Karen tossed him a scroll containing an extra set of clothes, Kurama pleaded, "Okay. Okay, just not the chains, okay." "Damn angry redhead, ruining all my fun," Kurama muttered. Karen uttered a threatening, "What was that?" "Nothing, my love," Kurama exclaimed as he hurried to change behind a tree. Karen asked, "Hinata, are you okay?" And Hinata nodded. Hinata remarked, "He's very crude," and Karen sighed. He turned around and Karen said, "Yeah, I know, but damn it. I still love him, for some weird-ass reason." Alongside Omoi and Watasumi, while Watasumi and Omoi ran through the forest, Watasumi glanced back in the direction they had left Naruto to fight Suigetsu in an attempt to locate the seal they needed to find in order to disable the barrier. Omoi assured the anxious girl, "He'll be fine, Watasumi. I may not have known him that long, but I can tell he can handle himself." Watasumi returned his glance with a worry-free expression. Omoi became curious and said, "Oh, I'm not worried," Watasumi added. "I'm just wondering what is taking him so long. He should have joined us by now," Omoi said. Omoi asked, "Why do you say that?" Watasumi responded. Watasumi stated, "Naruto was getting ready to use his Shark Sage mode. It can charge the user by 100% when in or near water, but it will only charge him by about 50% on dry land." Omoi nodded in comprehension. Watasumi nodded and Omoi remarked, "Really, that's pretty neat." Later, as they were running through the woods, Omoi called out, "Hey, look," pointing to a tree. Omoi reached out to grab the seal they were searching for, saying, "Now then let's," as he and Watasumi ran over and found the jackpot seal on the tree. The next thing Omoi knew, he was propelled backward into Watasumi by an electric current. Both of them groaned as they stood up after hitting a tree in a pile of smoke. "What the fuck was that?" Omoi exclaimed, turning to assist Watasumi in standing up. "Are you alright?" Omoi inquired, and Watasumi gave a nod. "Yeah, I'm fine," Watasumi remarked, rubbing her chin, as they stood up. "Looks like they booby-trapped the seal. We'll have to get past it somehow." Watasumi muttered, "Maybe if we use jutsus to weaken it we can destroy it," and Omoi nodded. "Alright. Then, ladies first," Omoi said as she moved aside. "I'm a shark, not a lady," Watasumi declared, causing Omoi to start perspiring. Then, using hand signals, Watasumi fired a barrage of water bullets at the seal. She moaned and said, "Oh well, one jutsu down. 9 more to go," as the water bullets broke when they came into contact with the seal. Omoi said, "Well, I have like 6 jutsu at my disposal. Let me go after this next one," and Watasumi nodded. As she prepared to try to break the seal once more, Watasumi went through hand signals once more. Suigetsu and Naruto together as their blades clashed and both attempted to get the upper hand. Naruto used the length and weight of his executioner's blade to keep Suigetsu at a disadvantage. Suigetsu had to parry each blow in a different direction because his Nuabari was too light to block a direct strike. However, Suigetsu was using the lighter weight and thin profile of his sword to strike back at Naruto, using his speed and agility to defeat him. While still buzzing from the water on the blade's edge, Naruto slashed at Suigetsu's head with his sword. Suigetsu dove under the enormous weapon and attempted to stab Naruto in the head to end the fight. With a head tilt, Naruto allowed the blade to pass through his head. Then, he spun on his heel and kicked Suigetsu in the sweeping motion. When Naruto's foot touched Suigetsu's leg, the leg turned to water, causing him to lose his balance. Naruto saw an opportunity to attack and prepared to strike with his sword. Suigetsu was slashed in half by Naruto's sword swing, sending his upper body flying across the field and colliding with a tree. As Suigetsu struck the tree, he felt the pain radiate up his body. While Suigetsu was only receiving a superficial wound, for a normal person this would have been a fatal blow. Nevertheless, Suigetsu was struggling to regenerate his lower body, and Naruto wasn't letting up. With his sword ready, Naruto charged at Suigetsu, who prepared a counterattack. Suigetsu controlled the thread to launch the Nuabari at Naruto. When Naruto noticed the sword approaching, he raised his sword to block the blow. Nevertheless, Suigetsu used the thread to alter the path, sending the sword crashing to the ground. The sword slashed across Naruto's chest, causing his blood to spray, as it ricocheted off the ground and approached him at an angle beyond which Naruto could block it. Naruto yelled, "Ga, you asshole," as he leapt away and gripped his chest to stop the bleeding. When he looked down, he noticed a gash across his chest that ran from his upper right to lower left. "You're gonna pay for that, you dick," he yelled. As he stood up on his newly shaped legs, Suigetsu yelled back, "Fuck you, blondie. Have you ever been cut in half? That hurt like a motherfucker. You joined a terrorist organization, therefore, you deserve what's coming to you," Naruto yelled, gesturing to him, and Suigetsu grimaced. "Asshole, bring it on," Suigetsu yelled. Naruto yelled back, "Let's go, prick," and the two charged at each other while roaring as they carried on with their fight. Alongside Omoi and Watasumi while practicing hand signals simultaneously, Watasumi asked, "Are you ready?" And Omoi nodded. Omoi responded, "Yeah, let's do it," as they came to a different hand signal. Watasumi thought, "Water style, water cannon." Omoi thought, "Lightning style, static strings." When Watasumi shot a stream of water at the seal, Omoi charged the water with lightning strings. When the combination struck the seal on the tree, sparks shot everywhere. The seal burned for a short while after catching fire. "We succeeded," Watasumi exclaimed, grinning and hopping. Alongside Shino, Samui, Karui, and Darui, the barrier obstructing the cave's entrance was deactivated, and Darui, Karui, Samui, and Shino all watched as the entrance opened wide. "Okay, everyone, let's go," Darui said. Samui, Karui, and Shino trailed behind Darui as he spearheaded the charge into the cave, following the straight path as he ran through it. Following a short while of running, Darui and the others came upon a large cavern with a statue of an unknown creature and two hands that emerged from the ground, with holograms of multiple figures displayed on 6 of the fingers. As Yugito floated in the midst of them, chakra seemed to be draining from her. Darui, sensing something was wrong, made the hand gestures. Lightning style. Black Panther. Using black lightning, Darui created a Black Panther and directed it in the direction of the two hands holding the holograms. The holograms vanished as the Lightning Panther crashed through the hands. Madara, Pain, Konan, Zetsu, and as Konan and Zetsu opened their eyes, Pain felt the connection break and opened his eyes. Kimi Maru, Jugo, and Suigetsu failed, he said. Zetsu. Go and retrieve them if they are still alive. As Black Zetsu sank into the earth, he uttered the words, "Yes, Lord Pain." So Kimi Maru and Jugo didn't work out, Madara sighed. Pain remarked, "A small setback, but nothing we can't overcome," and Madara nodded. Madara said, "I'll go check if Kimi Maru or Jugo are still alive," before vanishing into a vortex. Rejoining Darui and the group as Yugito started to fall through the air, Samui started to run over as quickly as she could. Just before Yugito hit the ground, Samui reached out and caught her. Yugito, oh god, Samui thought to herself as she laid Yugito down. Opening Yugito's shirt, Samui placed her ear to her chest and stated, "She has a heartbeat, but she is not breathing." She then started applying chest compressions. "Samui, move," Karui yelled as she rushed over. After doing 30 chest compressions and breathing into Yugito's mouth, Karui went through hand signals and his hands started to encase in lightning. "Clear," she yelled, telling everyone to stay back. To the delight of Darui, Karui, and Samui, "Matabi," Yugito uttered as she opened her eyes and started coughing. Karui had shocked her on her chest and side, causing her to jump. The Nibby said, "I'm still here, kitten. I'm not at 100% up." Yugito grinned in response. With a smile, Darui bent down and picked up Yugito. "Glad you back, Yugito," he said. "Let's get you some help," Yugito nodded. Darui and the others started to leave with Yugito, who was still alive but weak. Alongside Kimimaru, Itachi, Kakashi, Tayuya, and her Doki surrounded Kimimaru on all sides as he stood in the field, attempting to figure out where to go next. "Give up. You have no chance of beating us," Kakashi said as he stepped forward. "I decline," Kimimaru declared, resuming her position. Kakashi let out a sigh. Kakashi started, "Oh well, don't say," but then a figure emerged from the earth. White Zetsu grabbed Kimimaru and said, "Kimimaru, it's time to retreat." "Lord Pain's orders," Black Zetsu added. Itachi screamed, "Stop him," and lunged forward to try to grab Kimimaru. but he moved too slowly, and Zetsu and Kimi Maru vanished. Damn it, they escaped, Itachi swore. Tayuya yelled, okay, what the fuck was that shit? Did I just fucking see a goddamn plant man? Alongside Naruto, because they were fairly evenly matched, Naruto and Suigetsu were still fighting. Suigetsu attempted to stab Naruto, but Naruto sidestepped the blow. Suigetsu dropped his sword as Naruto slashed off his arm, rendering him helpless and setting him up for death. Naruto yelled, "Got you, prick," as he swung his sword to kill Suigetsu. However, as soon as the sword was about to strike, a vortex materialized behind him, drawing Suigetsu in. After slicing through the air, Naruto looked around and said, "What the hell?" in a confused manner. "Hey you asshole, our fight isn't over," he yelled angrily. After a short while, Naruto became more composed and turned off his sage mode. "Man, this stinks. I was about to win too," he uttered. He then rested his sword on his back and reached down to retrieve the Nuabari, thinking, well, at least Kiri has this back. As he ran through the forest, Naruto said, "Hopefully we got to Yugito in time," before starting to walk to where he and the other teams had left Darui and the others. At the meeting place, when Naruto saw that everyone was at the rally point, he yelled, "Hey guys," and ran up. Watatsumi questioned, "Naruto, you're back, did you win?" To which Naruto shook his head. "No, he got away," Naruto replied. "There was this crazy vortex that appeared and he like vanished," he responded. "Huh, no shit," Tayuya exclaimed. "Our guy got taken by a plant man," causing Naruto to give her a wide-eyed look in response. "It's official, I won my fight," Kurama declared, lifting Jugo's head to display his trophy. Everyone scooted away when Kurama said, "I'm going to find a taxidermist to stuff it, with the exception of Karen, who rolled her eyes." "I'm kidding," Kurama said, tossing the head into the river. "We got Yugito. That's all that matters," Kakashi stated. "Now then, let's return to Konoha so we can get some medical attention," he responded. After completing their mission, Naruto and Kakashi nodded and said, "Well, let's get moving." Naruto, Kakashi, and the others then started their arduous journey back to Konoha. One day after saving Yugito, at the Hokage office, Naruto, May, Kakashi, Darui, and Tsunade. Darui and Kakashi had both completed their mission reports, and Naruto, Kakashi, and Darui were standing in front of Tsunade and May in the Hokage office. Tsunade asked, "Is that all?" as she sat at the Hokage desk with her hands folded in front of her. Darui and Kakashi nodded, but Naruto held up his hand. May's eyes widened as Naruto said, "Actually, I have something to say too." He pulled out a scroll and opened it to reveal the Nuabari. "While I was fighting that Suigetsu guy, he had this sword with him," he said. May walked over and examined the sword, saying, "How the hell did he get that?" "This sword has been missing from Kiri for nearly 20 years. Naruto shrugged. Naruto handed May the sword and said, "Not sure. My best guess is that if what Tayuya said was true, Orochimaru collected relics and other stuff from other villages. And if they had this, they must have at least one or two more," he added. "Well, even so, it's good that we have one of Kiri's treasures back," May replied. "I wonder who we could get to use this sword," May said, and Kakashi broke the silence. Making everyone look at him, Kakashi said, "If I may interject, how about Watatsumi? It makes sense. She's close to Naruto and the other swordsmen and she is skilled with bladed weapons." May and Naruto exchanged a quick glance before shrugging. "It's true," Naruto remarked. May said, glancing down at the sword, "I don't see why not." Naruto nodded. "Okay, after we're done here, we'll talk to Watatsumi." Then, Darui approached Tsunade and said, "If it's okay with you, may I ask how Yugito is doing?" After giving the Kumo Junin a quick glance, Tsunade remarked, "She's been through a lot. Her Bijuu was 95% sucked out of her and she has heavy chakra exhaustion. It'll be at least another week until she's fit enough to travel. You and your team are more than welcome to stay here until she recovers. And once she is well enough to leave, you can head back to Kumo," Tsunade said with a nod. "Excellent," Darui remarked. "I'll let my team know right away," but before he could go, Naruto interrupted. Naruto said, "Hey Darui, where is Omoi?" And Darui shot him a glance. "Why is he in the hospital?" Darui inquired, and Naruto grinned. Naruto said, "Oh, I need him to help fulfill a promise I made a few years ago," to a confused look on May's face from the others. With Omoi and Naruto. After an hour, Naruto was leading Omoi as they strolled through the streets of Konoha. Omoi questioned suspiciously, "Okay, dude, where are you taking me to?" Naruto simply laughed. To Omoi's dismay, Naruto kept walking and said, "You'll see, just relax." A few more minutes later, Naruto and Omoi arrived. Naruto declared, "Here we are." Omoi stared bewildered at the location where Naruto had taken him. Yamanaka flower shop. Confused, Omoi exclaimed, "Okay, dude, what the hell?" Naruto then grabbed Omoi and pulled him into the store. As the door opened, Ino, who was utterly bored at the counter, said, "Hey, Yama." "Naruto, how are you doing? I haven't seen you in a long time." Naruto grinned and Ino said, "Amazing." As Naruto entered while pulling Omoi, he exclaimed, "Hey Ino, I'm doing awesome." When Ino saw this, she turned to face Omoi and spoke. Naruto shoved Omoi in front of Ino as he asked, "And who's your friend here?" Naruto grinned broadly and said, "This is Omoi. He's from Kumo, he's single and a boy." Turning to face Omoi, Naruto nodded. "You're welcome," Naruto said as he hurried out. Omo started, "Hey, where the hell is this?" But then he saw Ino standing in front of him, examining him. "Hey there handsome, I'm Ino Yamanaka, what's your name?" Ino said in a flirtatious manner as she leaned on the counter and thought, He's not bad looking, kind of exotic, and is that a lollipop?" After blushing and fidgeting, Ino thought, "Oh crap, I'm not good with girls. Samui and Karui are way different." Then, he swallowed hard and said, "M.myn. Name is Omoi." This made Ino laugh. Omoi timidly asked, "D.do you want a lollipop?" As he swiftly reached into his pouch and pulled out a bag of candy. Taken one, Ino grinned and said, "Don't mind if I do." Later that evening, at Naruto's place, with May and Naruto. After dining out at Ichiraku's, Naruto and May entered his house. "I can never get over how good that place is," May remarked, rubbing her stomach. "We seriously need to get one in Kiri," Naruto nodded. Naruto responded, "Definitely," as he and May approached the couch. Naruto sat down next to May, who chuckled. "God, I've only been back for like 3 weeks and I already went on AS rank mission. Not sure if it's good luck or bad luck," May remarked. May approached Naruto, putting her arms around him, and said, "Well, I'm just glad your mission was a success and you came back safely," planting a kiss on his forehead. After returning the kiss, Naruto gave him a melancholy glance. Naruto pouted and said, "Yeah, but I didn't beat that Suigetsu guy though. Stupid body made of water asshole." May laughed. "Ah, Naru, don't worry about it. You'll get him the next time," May said, massaging his cheeks and running her fingers over his whisker patterns. With a smile, Naruto put his arms around her waist and planted a kiss on her. May smiled at Naruto's comment, "You always know what to say to make me feel better," and they started kissing on the couch. May giggled when Naruto moved one of his hands down her back and grabbed her ass. When he abruptly withdrew, May became alarmed. May inquired, "What's wrong?" and Naruto gave her a gentle smile. Nervously, Naruto said, May, do you want to, make love?" May's eyes widened. "Simply put, it's that," Naruto remarked, blushing slightly. "We have the place to ourselves since Watasumi is staying with Renmara and Hanabi." May said, "Are you sure? I mean, you wanted to wait until a special time." Naruto then leaned in and gave her a gentle peck on the lips. May grinned when Naruto remarked, "I can't think of a more special time than now." Undisclosed. Concurrent location. Sasuke and Tobi entered a cave that held a statue of Geto. Sasuke moved to the center of the space while toting the four-tailed host Roshi from Iwa over his shoulder. Sasuke let go of the half-dead man and watched as holograms of the other Akatsuki members materialized on the statue's fingers. Sasuke noticed that 7 holograms were present, with Suigetsu occupying the hat Jugo usually wears. "I assume Jugo wasn't able to make it?" Sasuke inquired, turning to face Kimi Maru, who gave a nod. Sasuke nodded as Kimi Maru remarked, "An unfortunate casualty. Now Suigetsu is taking his spot in order to assist us. We can mourn him later." Sasuke nodded as Pain said, "Get ready to seal the 4 tails." Every Akatsuki started using hand signals, and until they stopped, Sasuke and Tobi remained where they were supposed to be. Sealing Justu. 9 Phantom Dragons. 9 phantom dragons materialized and started pulling the Bijuu from the unconscious Iwa ninja, as Peen's voice roared. At Naruto's house, May and Naruto. As the sun rose, Naruto and May were both dozing off in Naruto's bed. The sunlight beaming into Naruto's room caused Naruto to open his eyes. Naruto felt something move on his chest and grinned as he looked down, saying, "Damn," as she covered his eyes. May was still in her undies from the previous night, sleeping with her head on his chest. Naruto noticed her long auburn hair strewn haphazardly across the bed, her butt sticking out from under the blanket, and a faint smile on her face. She was startled out of her sleep by Naruto's laughter as he bent down to kiss her forehead. Yawn. Morning already, May remarked as she rubbed her eyes. When she finally opened them fully, she discovered that she was lying on Naruto's chest. "Morning, my love," she grinned. Naruto grinned and said, "Good morning, darling. Last night was just a wow." May nodded. Naruto remarked, "I'm glad it was with you, May," to which May grinned. "Same here," May said, planting a kiss on Naruto's lips. "So what are we planning for today?" May asked, and Naruto glanced up at the room's ceiling. "I got a spar with Darui at noon. Then we have lunch with Karen and Kurama at 2 p.m. and then we go and get Watasumi from the Hyuga compound at 6 p.m. Naruto said as he got up. "So we have a full day ahead of us," said Naruto. Naruto inquired, "By the way, when are you going back to Kiri?" May chuckled as she said, "In about 3 days, I decided to leave Ao in charge and Kisame on standby. I'm sure Kisame can defend the village and Ao can keep Kisame from burning it down." May stood up and started toward the bathroom, saying, "Well, I'm going to take a shower." Before she could go inside, she stopped and turned around, asking, "Do you want to join me?" with a smile and a raised eyebrow. "Hell yeah." May nodded in response to Naruto's enthusiastic, "shower sex." Naruto then got up and hurried into the bathroom with May, who was laughing. Hyuga compound. Renmara, Hanabi, and Watasumi. Watasumi was staring at a training target with the thread wrapped around her wrist and the nuabari in her right hand. Hanabi and Renmara were observing as Watasumi inhaled deeply. When Watasumi threw the nuabari at the target, she guided it with the thread. Although it hit the target, it was 3 inches down and 5 inches off center to the left. Watasumi nodded as Renmara remarked, "Well, that was pretty close. Not bad for having it for only a day," he added. Watasumi grinned and said, "I'm just so excited. There has only been one other girl in the 7 ninja swordmen, so I have some really big shoes to fill. I can just see it now. Me and Naruto fighting side by side," said Watasumi. In Watasumi's thoughts, in the midst of an enormous battleground encircled by hundreds of dead enemy ninja, stood Watasumi, Naruto, Kisame, Raiga, and Chojuro. Watasumi stood up, remarking, "Wow, that was a hard fight." Her enormous breasts, which were only covered by her chest wrappings, were flaunted by her open-top kimono. Naruto stood up and said, "God, I'm losing my edge." He stroked his blonde beard and remarked, "It would have been a lot harder if it wasn't for you." Naruto appeared to be in his 40s and was shirtless, flaunting his chest and abs. "Perhaps it's time for me to step down," he uttered, drawing Watasumi's attention. Watasumi questioned, "But who will lead the 7 swordmen?" Watasumi grinned brightly and responded, "You of course. I can't think of anyone else more suited," Naruto said. Watasumi replied, "Of course, I'll do it," returning to reality. "Yes," Watasumi replied as Hanabi and Renmara gave her a perspiration-filled look. Renmara questioned, why does Naruto have a beard in your dream?" Hanabi questioned, "And why did you give yourself big boobs?" Watasumi grinned in response. Watasumi counted on her fingers and said, "Well, I thought Naruto would look good with a beard. And what girl wouldn't want big boobies? I mean, look at M's May, hers are huge and she's super pretty." Renmara uttered the words, "Fair point," but Hanabi, seeing him, reached down and touched her chest. "My sister Hinata grew quite large," Hanabi pondered. "Maybe, if I'm lucky." A voice called out, "Hey guys," and everyone turned to see Konoha Maru. Hanabi, Renmara. "Ebisu-sensei sent me to find a..." Konoha Maru started, then pause. Konoha Maru was gazing at Watasumi when he noticed that her long gray hair, big black eyes, and endearing face were making his cheeks heat up and his heart skip a beat. Konoha Maru uttered the phrase, "Holy crap." Hanabi asked, "What are you doing here, Konoha Maru?" And Konoha Maru shook his head, Hanabi then continued to slap Konoha Maru on the back of the head, knocking him out of his thoughts. "Oh yeah. Ebisu-sensei told me to get you and Renmara for a mission," Konoha Maru replied. "We got some invasive catfish in the East River and we need all the help we can get," he replied. "Watasumi, please let me come along. I love to go catfish fishing. Can I come too?" she yelled, raising her hand. "Yes, without a doubt," shrugged Renmara. "Yay, let's go," Watasumi exclaimed as she sprinted forward and shook Konoha Maru's hand. "Hello. My name is Watasumi. Nice to meet you." As Watasumi approached, Konoha Maru flashed a silly smile. Konoha Maru smiled mischievously and said, "I love you." "Huh? What?" Watasumi asked, looking perplexed, and Konoha Maru took a step back. "I am Konoha Maru," he said, trying not to show off his blush. Hanabi smacked Renmara's forehead as she laughed, thinking, "Oh god, he's such an idiot." In the meantime, Ao, Kisame, and Raiga are in Kiri. Kisame lay down on the couch and said, "I'm fucking bored as shit." He added, "It's been a week since I killed someone, and I'm getting antsy." At that moment, Samahata complained, and Kisame comforted it, telling it to wait a little while. "We haven't done anything in a while, so I have to agree," Raiga said. Ao was sitting behind a desk, staring at them with his one good eye. Raiga asked, "Do you have anything for us?" Ao stated, "First of all, this is the Mizukage office and not your personal hangout." Kisame and Raiga scoffed at him. "And second, if you two are so damn bored, then why don't I give you a mission?" Ao said, getting the attention of both swordmen. "Thank God," Kisame exclaimed, getting to his feet, "What have we got?" Raiga questioned, "Who are we killing?" As Ao gave Kisame a scroll, which Kisame opened and read aloud to Raiga. "Wait, is this a map?" Raiga questioned. "Yes, it is," Ao replied. "That map leads to where the six-tailed Jinchuriki Utakata. That is where he's currently residing. Your mission is to go there and make sure he's okay," Ao replied with a smirk. Kisame and Raiga started saying, "What the hell?" and "This is bullshit," but Ao raised his hand. "Should I inform Lady May about your two refusals to accept a mission, or would you prefer to take on the honor yourselves?" Ao smirked, and both Kisame and Rage swallowed hard as they imagined themselves dying at the hands of an enraged May. Kisame and Raiga started to leave, with Kisame saying, "You're a fucking asshole." Ao yelled, "Fuck you, get out of my office." As he and Rage left the office, Kisame yelled, "I'll shit in your fucking office." "Gaha those two mindless barbarians," Ao replied. "I can't believe I'm saying this, but I prefer Naruto," he replied. Chojuro replied, "So do I," almost making Ao leap out of his skin. "How long have you been here, damn it?" inquired Ao. Alongside Naruto, May, Darui, Samui, Karui, and Omoi in Konoha. Using the blunt side of his blade, Naruto delivered an overhead chop to Darui, who raised his sword to deflect the blow. The training ground reverberated with a loud clang, so powerful that Darui's feet dug into the earth an inch beneath the impact. He parried Naruto's sword and struck him with his blunted sword. After dodging and rolling to avoid the obstacle, Naruto crouching down, he made the hand gesture, water style, water jet, and shoots a stream of water at Darui, who also makes the hand gesture. Darui used the lightning style, firing a lightning arrow at Naruto's water jet. This caused both of his jutsus to collide, canceling each other out as the electrified water fell to the ground. With their swords drawn, Naruto and Darui charged at each other once more. May, Samui, Omoi, and Karui were watching the fight from the sidelines. As he watched with interest, Omoi remarked, "Man, this is a good fight. Darui-sensei and Naruto are both neck and neck, and they're not even going all out." "I still think Naruto's sword is too big," Karui responded. "You think he's overcompensating for something?" She laughed. May muttered, "Oh, he's definitely not," to which Samui turned and grinned. Samui said, "Is that so?" to get May's attention. "Got the details?" she inquired. May remarked, "Maybe later of sake," and Samui nodded as they both returned their focus to the fight. Kisame and Raiga in tow. Kisame yelled at Raiga, "Damn it. Are you sure this is the right way?" as they both ran as quickly as they could across the swampy water. Raiga yelled, "Yeah, I'm. Oh shit," as he dove under the water in time to avoid being eaten by an alligator. "Fuck you," Raiga yelled, grabbing his kiba blades and slicing the alligator into 3 pieces. Kisame snarled as Raiga remarked, if we run in this direction, we will save 1 day of travel. As Kisame grabbed Samahada, he yelled, damn it. Why is it that when you take a shortcut you are always punished? Just as another alligator jumped out of the water in front of Kisame, he yelled, batter up. After using Samahada as a baseball bat to subdue the alligator, Kisame remarked, man, I bet you Naruto is having fun right now. With Kurama, May, Karen, and Naruto in a restaurant. Karen and Kurama were seated at a table with Naruto and May. Glaring at Naruto, Kurama said, I hope you get testicular cancer so they will chop off your nuts so you never have kids. Naruto glared back at Kurama. I hope you get sucked into a black hole and spend the rest of eternity getting stretched out into spaghetti and die a lonely painful death. When the waitress took their order, she noticed that May and Karen were concentrating on their menus and ignoring the offensive fight going on next to them. She asked, are those two okay? And both of them nodded. Yeah, they're fine, May replied. I'll have the steak teriyaki and steamed vegetables, she replied. They just hate each other's guts, said Karen. I'll have the beef yakitori. No carrots please, she responded. The waitress, perspiring, pointed at Kurama and Naruto and said, and May grinned and said, Naruto will have the pork bulgogi, fried rice, and a serving of gyoza. And Kurama will have the curry fried chicken, white rice and kimchi, Karen stated. The waitress said, okay, I'll put in your orders, and Karen and May turned to face Naruto and Kurama. Kurama yelled at Naruto, I hope you get your arm chopped off and can never wield a sword again. Naruto addressed Kurama, saying, I hope Karen pegs you in the ass with a strap on with razors attached. With a sigh, May and Karen turned to face their partner. As she sipped her water, Karen uttered, it's our curse. May declared, our boyfriends are dumbasses. Along an arbitrary dirt road in Kiri, Kisame and Raiga. Kisame looked at the map and said, okay, so we passed the alligator swamp, took a left at the quick sand pits and now we're heading to. Once we pass there it should be a straight shot, Kisame continued, turning to face Raiga. Okay, let's get started, Raiga said, before a wagon pulled up alongside them and stopped. Kisame and Raiga both widened their eyes. A group of attractive, sultry country girls were in the wagon. One of the bustier girls said, howdy boys, where you off to? We're heading to a little shindig not too far down the road. The other girls laughed as a brunette asked, wanna join us? There will be a lot of alcohol, drugs, and sex there. Kisame and Raiga exchanged a quick glance and both shrugged, sure, before getting back into the wagon and watching it roll down the road once more. Alongside May and Naruto as dusk was descending, Naruto and May were making their way to the Hyuga compound to fetch Watasumi. Wow, today went by so quickly, Naruto remarked, to which May nodded. I wonder what Watasumi did today. Hopefully she had a lot of fun, he continued. May observed Watasumi conversing with Renmara, Hanabi, and Konohamaru as they passed through the Hyuga gates. Hey Watasumi, we're here to pick you up, May remarked. Watasumi grinned and ran over with a bucket, saying, hey guys, look at this. Naruto and May peered inside and saw a dozen catfish. We had a mission to catch these fish. I got paid and was allowed to keep some fish as a bonus, Watasumi added. May exclaimed, oh my god, no way, and Naruto grinned. Naruto looks like I can make my fried fish tonight for dinner, May said excitedly. Naruto said, okay. I love you, fish. Not too spicy, extra crunchy. May and Watasumi nodded in agreement as Naruto said, come on, let's go grab the ingredients in that grocery store around the corner. Watasumi waved and said, bye Hanabi, bye Renmara, bye Konohamaru. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Watasumi, Konohamaru uttered. After Naruto, Watasumi, and May left, Konohamaru sighed and remarked, sigh. One day I'm going to marry that girl. Renmara looked at Konohamaru, like an actual shark. That's just her human form so she can walk on land, and said, Konohamaru, you know she's a shark right? Konohamaru's eyes widened now. Konohamaru remarked, oh, wow. So you think I still might have a shot? Renmara shrugged in response. Renmara said, I say 50-50, and Hanabi started to perspire. Hanabi remarked, that is so wrong in so many ways. What are you going to do to turn her human? Hanabi remarked, it seems your grandfather's genius skipped over you, and Konohamaru got to his feet with a thought. Konoha Maru yelled, "Great idea. I'll ask my grandpa if he knows what to do before taking off." Hanabi exclaimed, "Konoha Maru, you jackass. It's impossible for you to turn a shark into a girl so you can marry her," as Hiyashi stood looking on in shock behind them. "Did I overlook something here?" Hiyashi wondered. Adjacent to Utakata's residence, Kisame and Raiga. As he and Raiga walked up a dirt road, Kisame remarked, "Finally, we found the damn place. Okay, let's knock, meet and greet, and then find a place to set up camp for the night," he said, to which Raiga nodded. Raiga grinned and said, "Agreed. This trip has been taxing, however, those girls sure as shit made the whole thing worth it." Kisame laughed. Kisame and Raiga both laughed as he said, "Damn right. I was balls deep in like 3 of those chicks. I thought my dick was going to break off." When they approached the house via the road, Kisame felt uneasy. He glanced over and noticed Raiga was also nervous. Something ain't right, he thought to himself. At that moment, the house's side burst apart, sending someone flying out of the aperture. It was a pale man with brown hair and a blue kimono, who was rolling on the ground, smoking and his clothes burning. Raiga exclaimed, "Holy shit. It's our guy," as he and Kisame hurried over to confront Utakata. "Are you okay?" he inquired. Utakata uttered, "R.run," before collapsing. As he left the burning house, Deidara exclaimed, well, looky here Sasori my man." With a sly grin, he continued, "Not only do we have our target but also one of our traitors." As he emerged from the surrounding forest, Sasori remarked, "Deidara, you talk too much. Let's just kill Kisame and his partner and leave. Pain is not willing to wait forever." Both Kisame and Raiga took their stances, with Kisame grabbing Samahata and Raiga grabbing his kiba blades. Kisame smiled and asked, "Am I going to sound like an asshole if I say I was kind of hoping this was going to happen?" Raiga shook his head. Raiga responded, "Yeah, I was kind of hoping for some action too," to which Kisame laughed. "Let's go crazy," Kisame exclaimed. In Kiri Nation, accompanied by Kisame and Raiga. Kisame lunged at Sasori, who was hurling his poisoned tail in his direction. Kisame grabbed Samahata firmly, swung at the tail, toppling it, and dashed in to confront Sasori up close. But Kisame ducked down, avoiding being hit, as he was now within striking distance of Sasori, who launched another attack with a barrage of poisoned senbon. When Kisame's Samahata struck Sasori, he raised his puppet's strengthened left arm to deflect the sword, and Kisame cursed because his attack was ineffective. With an audible click, Sasori laughed and moved his left arm. Upon hearing this, Kisame leapt backward and began making hand gestures. Water style. Water wall. Sasori's left arm shot poison shrapnel and needles, and Kisame made a wall of water in time to block them both. The water wall was only a few inches from Kisame's face. Kisame thought to himself, "Damn it. This is why I hate puppet users. They always have weapons hidden out the ass." He started going through hand signs once more. Water style. Water shark bomb. Kisame created a water shark out of the damp ground and hurled it in Sasori's direction. Bringing his tail in front of him, Sasori started to spin it quickly until it was only a blur. The water shark struck the tail and was destroyed, only drenching Sasori in the process. "Just let us have the 6 tails container, Kisame," Sasori said, pausing to look at Kisame. "You'll only die trying to defend him," Sasori continued. Kisame smirked and said, "Ha, nice try puppet boy. Let me see how confident you are when I smash your dolls into splinters." But when Sasori started growling, Kisame was unprepared. "You will bear the consequences for that, dolls, remark," Sasori declared, expressing his one pet peeve. Kisame smirked and said, "Ah, did I hit a nerve? You fucking sissy," which made Sasori growl even harder. As he raised his tail to resume the battle, Sasori thought, "Just for that, I'm going to turn you into one of my puppets." Alongside Raiga yelled, "Lightning shot," as he launched another lightning strike at Deidara, who was soaring on a clay bird. Deidara saw the bolt of lightning and swerved to the side to avoid getting struck. "Damn it. Just my luck," Deidara grumbled. "Out of everybody in this shithole country and I run into the only lightning user for miles," he exclaimed. Taking a handful of his explosive clay, Deidara reached into his pouch and formed a dozen clay spiders with the mouths on his hands. Raiga saw Deidara throwing the clay spiders at her and yelling, "Take this asshole." Raiga responded by uniting both of his kiba blades and starting to charge his lightning chakra. The clay spiders were falling through the air when Raiga used her lightning jutsu, lightning style, lightning pulse. Although it wasn't very strong, it was enough to deactivate the spiders and prevent them from exploding. Reaching into his pouches again to retrieve more clay, Deidara uttered the words, "Damn bastard," before forming several clay sparrows and hurling them towards Raiga. When Raiga noticed the clay sparrows approaching, he charged his swords with lightning chakra, sending a ball of lightning in their direction that nearly toppled the birds. But 3 sparrows escaped unharmed, and Raiga cursed as he started to flee. Raiga slashed one of the sparrows with his electrified sword, severing it in half, but the other 2 were too close and burst apart. Raiga screamed when he sat up and realized his clothes were on fire after being thrown into a tree. Raiga yelled, "Oh shit," as he extinguished the flames. Glancing at Deidara, who was still in the air, Raiga grimaced. "I have to get him out of the air and back to the ground," Raiga thought as he reformed his stance. Alongside Kisame as Sasori's tail came towards Kisame, he used Samahata to block it. Sasori then retracted his tail and started to strike at Kisame, who was backing up to avoid being hit. Sasori moved forward, parted his lips, and shot Kisame with another round of poisoned senbon. Kisame quickly avoided the senbon, but Sasori grabbed his tail and slashed at him, taking Kisame by surprise. Sasori's tail slashed across Kisame's chest, causing him to winch in pain and jump backward. Kisame landed far away and peered down at his wound. Kisame gripped his sword and stared at Sasori as the flesh surrounding the cut began to turn purple and he experienced a slight burning sensation. "Damn it. I can feel the poison working its way into my system," Kisame thought to himself. Kisame thought, "I have to finish this battle quickly. If I'm going to die, I'm taking this asshole with me." "I know my poison is starting to run through your body, Kisame," Sasori remarked. Kisame smirked and turned to face Sasori. Kisame mockingly remarked, "It's just a flesh wound," but as he started going through hand signals, he said, "But this won't be." "Water style. Water vortex." Sasori braced himself and started spinning his tail quickly as Kisame created a water vortex with the water from the ground. When the water vortex struck, Sasori's tail shielded him from the water jutsu, so he was unprepared for Kisame's surprise appearance. Since Kisame was already poisoned and had nothing to fear from another hit, he made the decision to throw caution to the wind. Kisame called Samahata a surprise dickhead as he defeated him. Unable to resist, Sasori chose to do something he had never done before: leap out of his puppet. Kisame saw a figure leap out and land a few feet away as he slammed Samahata onto the puppet, shattering it. Kisame looked and saw a redhead in his 20s, and became confused. Kisame remarked, "Huh. So that's what you look like. You said you were in your 30s, to which Sasori started giggling. "I am. Even though my body doesn't age," Sasori remarked as he pulled off his cloak. Kisame then saw Sasori's puppet body, which had a strange cylinder in his chest, bladed wings on his back, and a spool of cable in his stomach. "Now then, shall we?" Sasori started, pausing when he noticed a bubble floating in his direction. When Sasori realized what it was, he leapt backward and watched as it exploded as it touched the ground in front of him. Kisame stood there, staring blankly, until he heard footsteps behind him. It was Utakata, getting back up, though he walked up to Kisame with a slight limp. "It's been a while, Kisame," Utakata remarked. "He's quite a troublesome opponent, isn't he?" "Have we met?" Kisame inquired, unable to recall any previous connections. "Once. Back during the last war," Utakata recalled. "It was brief, but our battalion fought a Konoha battalion." "I saw you fight several Konoha Junin," he replied. Utakata nodded as Kisame said, "Nope, not ringing any bells." "Hey, let's finish off Puppet Boy here, then we can talk," Kisame added. Sasori urged Kisame not to become overconfident, saying, "I haven't even shown you half of what I can do." He then took out a scroll and opened it. The third Cage's puppet materialized with a puff of smoke, and Kisame recognized it as such when it opened its mouth and black iron sand spilled out. "Now then, shall we continue?" the puppet uttered. Kisame and Utakata assumed their positions and exchanged a "Shit, this is annoying" look. Alongside Raiga was sprinting through the trees, dodging more clay sparrows that Deidara had dropped. As she went under a downed tree, a sparrow struck it, exploding and igniting a small fire. As he charged up a ball of lightning and launched it towards the clay sparrows, Raiga thought, "Damn it," hitting them and knocking them out of the air. While riding his clay bird through the air, Deidara cursed, thinking, damn it, this is getting nowhere. This asshole is the worst type of enemy I could have been given, I'm wasting my clay trying to take him out. Upon noticing that Deidara was not approaching him, Raiga made the decision to move. He started running up a tree until he reached the top and raised both of his swords into the air. The clouds overhead started to get darker, and the sky got darker. When lightning started to rain down from the sky, Raiga launched into his lightning style, lightning funeral technique. Deidara saw this and started to fly his bird in evasive maneuvers to avoid getting struck by the lightning. Deidara yelled, damn it, as he steered left to right to avoid the lightning strike. Suddenly, a lightning bolt struck his bird in the head, shocking both the bird and Deidara. Deidara took some damage as a result, and his bird fell to earth quickly. Holy shit, he yelled as he held onto his bird. Dust. Splashing, Deidara crashed to the ground, and Raiga cancelled his technique. Now to finish this and go and help Kisame, Raiga thought to himself as he leapt down the tree and started to run to where he saw Deidara crash. With unsteady legs and hazy vision, Deidara stood up and shook his head. Hearing footsteps, he turned to face Raiga, who was sprinting toward him. You motherfucker, he yelled, reaching into his pouch to retrieve more clay. Raiga readied his swords, but before he could act, Deidara expanded 4 clay worms and sent them hurtling toward him. Raiga peered around as the worms disappeared into the ground. Raiga started, where did they go? But all of a sudden the ground beneath him erupted, propelling him skyward. He landed in a crouch a short distance away and winced in pain when he saw that his right leg was burned. Shit, he thought to himself. But Deidara was observing the events with a cold eye. Why was the explosion so small? It should have killed him. He wondered, peering at both of his pouches. Is it possible that the lightning strike affected my clay? He wondered. Raiga stood up and turned to face Deidara. It's time to end this, he thought to himself before charging at the man, both of his swords crackling like lightning. When Deidara noticed this, he reached into his right pouch for more clay. Taking a handful, he formed the clay into 12 clay centipedes. As he started to shape multiple clay dragonflies, Deidara let go of the tiny centipedes and reached into his left pouch to retrieve the remaining clay. Damn, almost out, Deidara thought to himself. When Raiga realized this, he sheathed both of his swords and gestured. Water style. Water clone jutsu. Raiga declared. 5 water clones emerged from the soggy ground, rushing alongside Raiga as they closed the gap to reach Deidara. Deidara cursed as his finite clay was being used up as 2 of the water clones ran towards the clay centipedes to destroy them. The centipedes exploded, destroying both clones. With a sly smile on his face, Raiga prepared a ball of lightning using his swords and threw it towards the dragonflies of Deidara. As he pulled out a kunai and charged at Raiga, Deidara thought, damn it, thinking that he was going to have to step outside of his element because the lightning ball had struck the dragonflies, rendering them helpless and sending them plummeting to the ground. Raiga's clone advanced on Deidara and swung his swords at him, but Deidara dodged the blow and stabbed the clone, causing it to scatter into the water. When Deidara turned to face Raiga's 2 other clones, he saw them coming from behind. He threw his kunai at one of the clones, breaking it, and then reached into his pouch to take out more clay. Deidara made a clay frog and threw it at the clone, causing it to explode and destroying the creature as it approached. Just as Deidara reached into his pouch once more, a lightning bolt struck him in the side. Raiga struck Deidara squarely with a lightning bolt, seizing the opportunity to go in for the kill. Deidara said Raiga and attempted to use his clay, only to discover that the lightning that had just struck him had rendered it inert. It was too late when Deidara brought up the second kunai, even though he had already yelled, shit, as he reached down to get it. Raiga got closer and cut Deidara's arm at the elbow, causing his eyes to widen. Then, with a swift movement, Raiga used his other sword to decapitate Deidara, sending his head hurtling towards the ground. Raiga took a knee to catch his breath as Deidara's headless body dropped to the ground lifeless. That was harder than I thought, he thought to himself as he stood up and approached Deidara's head. Raiga was now breathing heavily. Raiga thought to himself, may as well get paid for my troubles, as he opened a scroll and sealed the head inside. Okay, now to go and find Kisame, he thought to himself as he turned and ran to the location of his last encounter with Kisame. Alongside Utakata and Kisame in order to launch his attack, Sasori used his chakra strings to manipulate the third case cage, causing his iron sand to change from a mass of flowing metal to hundreds of black iron needles. Sasori flicked his wrist to send Kisame and Utakata in the direction of the iron needles. In an attempt to evade the projectiles, Kisame and Utakata split up and started using hand signals to communicate. Water style, water dragon jutsu. Kisame then threw a water dragon towards the iron sand needles. A few needles continued to fly towards the water dragon, but most of it lost shape and returned to the cage puppet as it collided with the black iron sand. Once more, Kisame passed through the hand signals. Water style. Water wall. In order to defend himself, Kisame built a high-pressure water wall, and the needles struck it, passing halfway through before stopping inches from Kisame's face. That was close, Kisame remarked, coughing up some blood onto the ground as his vision grew hazy. Damn the poison, Kisame thought to himself as he stumbled back up. Utakata skillfully maneuvered around the falling iron sand needles, launching a stream of bubbles in Sasori's direction as he ran and glanced over at him, holding his bubble pipe to his lips and uttering the words, "Water style. Explosive bubbles." When Sasori noticed this, he started to run and carry the cage puppet. A stream of bubbles trailed behind Sasori until he used his metallic blade wings to take to the air. But while doing so, he had to dodge a lightning bolt that was coming from below. Sasori saw where it was coming from and managed to dodge just in time. Raiga remarked, "You ladies are still fighting. You are losing your edge, Kisame," to which Kisame laughed. "I was unfortunate. You had to fight the member who was your elemental opposite." Kisame grinned and then started coughing up blood ferociously. "Shit," he exclaimed, collapsing to one knee. When Raiga noticed this, he dashed forward, putting both of his swords in front of him. As Sasori observed this from above, he mentally went over the possible outcomes. If he's here, that means Deidara is dead, he reasoned. Kisame is dying from my poison. However, the Jinchuriki is able to fight again and Raiga is back. It's not looking good. Even if I win, I'll be severely damaged and still have to bring the Jinchuriki back without killing him. Sasori thought to himself. 2-on-1 and 1 is a medium to long range fighter. After giving it some more thought, Sasori decided that it would be best to withdraw and fight another day. Using his wings, Sasori then flew away, leaving Raiga perplexed. Raiga yelled, "Hey, get back here," and started to run until Utakata caught up with him. Raiga was about to respond, but she stopped herself when Utakata said, "Don't go after him. Don't be a dog chasing a meat cart. We won, that's all that matters." Utakata approached Kisame, who was on his knees and gasping for air, and said, "Besides, we need to help Kisame here. He was exhausted from fighting Deidara and had run out of energy to fight." Raiga replied, "Damn, you're right. We need to get to Kiri. Will we make it in time?" To Utakata, who had a doubtful expression on his face. Kisame wheezed and said, "Wait," trying to get their attention. "I have an idea," he added. May, Watasumi, and Naruto together. Oh boy, Saturday evening special. Buy one get one half price. I'm thinking one miso ramen and one chicken ramen. Naruto exclaimed as he pulled on his jacket. "Ramen time," he said, passing May her blue jacket. May remarked, "I'm thinking a beef barbecue ramen and some seafood ramen," to which Naruto laughed. When Naruto said, "Maybe combine both and you can have 2 surf and turf ramen," May and he both laughed until they stopped and exchanged glances. "Surf and turf ramen," they both exclaimed, and Watasumi burst out laughing. "Great idea," they both repeated. "Well, Watasumi started, "You two are so funny sometimes," but then she disappeared into a cloud of smoke, leaving Naruto and May perplexed. Naruto remarked, "Huh, she got summoned back. Her next clan meeting isn't until tomorrow." A few seconds later, Watasumi reappeared, accompanied by Kisame, Raiga, and Utakata. When Naruto looked, he saw that Kisame was on the ground with a large cut across his chest that was purple. Raiga had multiple small burns and a badly injured foot, and some guy he didn't know had multiple cuts and bruises all over his body and his clothes were slightly burned. Running over, Naruto yelled, "Holy shit! Kisame, Raiga, what the hell happened?" he exclaimed. May rushed over and took Utakata by placing his arm over her shoulder. "Kisame is unconscious," Raiga said, barely able to stand. "He was poisoned," he added. Utakata was hurt and exhausted when May asked, "Utakata, what happened?" "De Akatsuki. They came," Utakata responded. "I nearly got taken when these two arrived. Raiga killed one, the other escaped," said he. Raiga said, "Can you help Kisame?" He's fucking dying here, and Naruto nodded. Then, he made a number of shadow clones. Hold on, Kisame, we're going to get you some help, Naruto said as he and the others ran out the door to the hospital. Go and find Grandma Tsunade, Pervy Sage, Kakashi-sensei, and Itachi now, he yelled, and his clones nodded. Konoha Hospital. Raiga and Utakata arrived 2 hours after Kisame. Kisame was breathing slowly and laboriously while lying in bed unconscious and having IVs and fluids pumped into his body to counteract the poisoning. Naruto clenched his fists in rage as he looked down at his fellow swordsman and sensei. Naruto became enraged and exclaimed, "Damn it, why the hell didn't he try to contact and reverse summon me? I could have helped." Raiga caught Naruto's attention by saying, "And what could you do?" Naruto turned to see Raiga being bandaged by Shizune. "If we reversed summoning to Ao." "Fuck," Raiga yelled as Shizune came to a stop. Shizune apologized, "But I have to clean these burns before they get infected," as she bandaged his injuries. Raiga apologized for his outburst and said, "No, I'm sorry. Anyhow, what would have happened if we had summoned you in reverse and lost?" Raiga deflated Naruto by saying, "Not only would they have gotten the Utakata and the Six Tails, but they would have also gotten you." "Alright, I get it. I just wish I could have helped," said Naruto. As soon as May, who was seated in a chair, noticed that Naruto was upset, she approached him and wrapped her arms around him from behind. May encouraged Naruto, saying, "Don't beat yourself up. Just be happy they made it here alive so we can help them now." Naruto nodded. "All right, May," Naruto said. A short while later, the door opened and Tsunade and Itachi entered. "Granny Tsunade, how's Utakata doing?" Naruto inquired, as May and Raiga peered at her. With a sigh of relief from everyone, Tsunade said, "Utakata is okay. He sustained several broken bones and fractures, but nothing life-threatening." Itachi then moved forward. "Not surprising, considering their objective," Itachi said. "The Akatsuki need to extract the Bijuu from the host and they can't do that if they are dead. So poison and lethal strikes are not viable, according to him." Inquiring about Utakata, May said, "So where is he now?" "He is in a secure location and isolated location in the village." May nodded as Tsunade stated, "He will be under guard by Itachi and his team until he is able to move. Only then will he be able to leave." Tsunade nodded as May said, "I'm glad to hear. Once he, Kisame, and Raiga are able to move, we will be heading back to Kiri." Tsunade turned around and started to leave, saying, "Very well. I will arrange for an escort consisting of Naruto, Itachi, and Kakashi to join you." "Well," Tsunade interrupted herself in mid-step, "I think we should add another body. Maybe Tenzo." This statement caused Itachi to turn to face her. "Zenzo? Really?" Itachi questioned doubtfully, and Tsunade gave a nod. Naruto inquired, "Who's Tenzo?" Tsunade grinned, "An old friend of Kakashi and Itachi and Enbu valued by both me and Sarutobi-sensei," which caused Naruto's eyes to widen. Excited to meet the enigmatic Tenzo, Naruto exclaimed, "Whoa, no way. When can I meet him?" he inquired, and Tsunade grinned back. Tsunade walked out with a cool demeanor, saying, "Soon." She also mentioned that there would be a follow-up mission after she dropped May and Utakata off in Kiri. Unknown place Zetsu, accompanied by Kimi Maru, entered a cave while Han, the five-tail host from Iwa, was draped over Zetsu's shoulder, displaying his fierce personality. "He was more trouble than we'd anticipated," Black Zetsu remarked, according to White Zetsu. "Even so, it's done," Kimi Maru remarked as they entered a large room with the Gedo statue's hands rising out of the floor. Han and Zetsu then leapt onto their separate platforms, with Kimi Maru placing Han in the center of the room. As soon as Kimi Maru sealed his hands, several holograms of Pain, Konan, Sasuke, Sasori, Suigetsu, and Tobi materialized. Kimi Maru inquired, "Where is Deidara?" with curiosity. Kimi Maru sighed as, "Dead." Pain stated, "Due to interference from our former comrade Kisame, both Sasori and Deidara failed to capture their target." Kimi Maru stated, "This will make the extraction more difficult," and Pain nodded. Pain looked at Kimi Maru and said, "It will," adding, "It will take us 4 days to extract the 5 tails and another 4 for the 3 tails." Kimi Maru inquired about the 3 tails, before hearing Sasuke break the silence. "Me and Tobi went to collect the 3 tails in Kiri at the same time as Sasori and Deidara tried to get the 6 tails," Sasuke continued. It was fairly easy. We expected to meet Sasori and Deidara at the rally point, but only Sasori arrived, said Sasuke. It won't happen again, Sasori declared, adding, we underestimated the enemy. Pain responded, never mind that. We'll seal the 3 tails after we've sealed the 5. It will take us 4 days each. So, we will seal for 4 days, rest for a day and then seal for 4 days, he stated. Kimi Maru remarked, very well, let's get started, Pain said, his voice resonating throughout the room, as everyone started to go through the hand signs. He then stopped and said, sealing jutsu. 8 phantom dragons. 5 days later, at the Konoha main gate, with Naruto, May, and the others. At the front gate, Naruto, May, Raiga, Kisame, Watasumi, and Utakata were all waiting for their escorts. Hey, Kisame, Naruto said, glancing over at Kisame, who was wearing bandages and appeared to be in a bad mood. Are you sure you're okay to walk back to Kiri? He asked, to which Kisame replied with a sly smile. Yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry, brat. It will take us 3 days to get to Kiri. I can make that journey, and when we get there, I want Samahata back, Kisame remarked, rolling his shoulder and gesturing to Naruto. As the only person with the reserves of chakra to keep Samahata satisfied, Naruto carried Samahata on his back. May, on the other hand, carried Naruto's executioner's blade on her back because Naruto is slowed down by carrying 2 heavy swords. May adjusted the strap and remarked, damn, this thing is heavy. This is a workout in and of itself. Now I see how your shoulders are so broad, Naruto. Kisame laughed. Kisame chuckled, if you think that's bad, wait until we find the helmet splitter. That thing was at least as heavy as both my sword and Naruto's combined, which caused May to widen her eyes. With her pinky finger balanced on her sword, Watasumi said, really, holding her Nuabari sword. Mine's so light I can hold it with my pinky. May greeted Watasumi, saying, hey Watasumi. Trade you. Watasumi shook her head, causing the other to chuckle. A short while later, Tsunade approached carrying Kakashi, Itachi in his Anbu mask, and a man Naruto had never seen before. Tsunade introduced the man, Tenzo, to everyone. He had almond-shaped eyes, brown hair, and a forehead protector in the Hapori style. With a smile and a wave, Yamato said, please call me Yamato. Naruto walked up to shake Yamato's hand and said, nice to meet you. If it's okay with you, may I ask what your specialty is? Kakashi has his Sharingan, and Weasel is. Weasel, how about you? Excitedly questioned Naruto. With a hand gesture, Yamato said, well, let me show you. A tree suddenly sprouted up in the middle of the road, surprising everyone aside from Tsunade, Itachi, and Kakashi, and he remarked, I know wood-style ninjutsu, as if it were no big deal. Yamato said, giving Naruto a wide-eyed expression, I'm the only other person other than the first Hokage who can use it. That's awesome, Naruto exclaimed. Hey, can we spar later? I want to spar, can we? Naruto pressed, causing Yamato to chuckle. May pulled Naruto's collar to restrain him, saying, calm down, eager beaver. Kiri first, then Sparring. Naruto nodded. After crossing his arms, Naruto said, okay, fine. Utakata pointed to Naruto and May and said, I'm confused. He was pointing at Itachi and Kakashi. Yeah, pretty much, Kakashi shrugged as she turned to face him. How he did I'd no fucking idea, but he did it. Speaking up, May said, okay, let's get going. We have a long journey and we need to make headway, so let's hoof it. And so they started walking down the road towards Kiri. Utakata approached Naruto as they were walking. So, Naruto, it's nice to meet a fellow Jinchuriki, he smiled. If it's okay with you, may I ask how is your relationship with your Bijuu? He asked, getting a funny look in response. You spent several days with him, Naruto said, perplexed. Huh? What are you talking about? Utakata was equally perplexed. Utakata became wide-eyed as Naruto said, Fox. The Anbu guarding you. No way. You didn't know, Utakata replied, turning to face the ground. Impossible. The 9 tailsa in human form. Naruto sighed as Utakata questioned, how did that happen, why didn't he mention anything? It's a lengthy tail, Naruto remarked. Tsunade turned around and was face to face with the tree Yamato grew in the middle of the road. Hey! Yamato! Cut this goddamn tree down! Tsunade yelled in the distance, but they had already left. Naruto and the others were walking down the road, and Tsunade smiled and said, "Good luck to everyone." Tsunade sighed and said, "Oh well, you want something done." She cocked back her fist and said, "Damn it." Tsunade said, "Do it yourself." She punched the tree with a right hook, uprooting it and sending it flying into the forest. "I still got it," Tsunade remarked, wiping her knuckles. Tsunade said, "Fill up that hole please," as she made her way back into the village after passing through the gate and observing the two gate guards cowering in terror. After 3 days, Kiri Gates May exclaimed, "Finally we get to sleep in beds," as she and the others crossed the checkpoint and entered Kiri, causing Naruto to chuckle. Naruto rolled her eyes and said, "Oh, come on. Camping wasn't that bad." May rolled her eyes. May shivered and said, "You can keep it. I hate camping. I always have and always will." May shuddered and said, "Snakes, bugs, and other creepy crawlies." "Hey Yamato. Why didn't you make us a cabin for us to stay in?" Everyone stopped and turned to stare at Watasumi with a look of rage in his eyes. "You could have constructed a home," May said, her one visible eye filled with rage. "My novel is soaking wet," Kakashi remarked, taking out his sodden book. "It rained hard yesterday." "My jutsu is for serious applications," Yamato stated. "Now for you all to be comfortable. What if we got attacked?" he responded. Utakata replied, "We did by mosquitoes, from sleeping outside." "Okay, screw it," May uttered. She reached for Naruto's hand and said, "I need a shower, a meal, and a nap." She winked and said, "Come on, Naruto. Let's go home and take a shower." As they raced down the road, Naruto remarked, smiling foolishly, "Oh, yeah, shower." Kakashi, Kisame, Yamato, Itachi, Utakata, and Raiga were staring at Naruto enviously. "Fortunate fool," they all pondered. Watasumi made a hand sign and said, "I'm going to go back to my parents. Later gators," she added before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. "So, it's just us huh? So what now?" inquired Raiga. "I have a thought," Kisame uttered, concurrently with, "unknown place." Sasuke collapsed to his knees, gasping with fatigue, as the final remnants of the Three Tails chakra were drawn into the Gedo statue and the room fell silent. Sweating profusely, Sasuke thought to himself, "I'm exhausted." Pain looked around at the other participants and said, "Very good everyone. Now then, we will continue the hunt for the remaining Bijuu." Pain nodded to the 4 people who had nodded. "Sasuke, Kimi Maru, Suigetsu, Zetsu, you 4 will go after the 7 tails next. Rest for the day then head out tomorrow. Time is of the essence," he said, before his hologram disappeared. "Me and Suigetsu will meet you at the village of Shimazu," Sasuke stated, glancing at Kimi Maru and Zetsu. "Be there by sunset tomorrow," he added, before his and Suigetsu's holograms disappeared. Kimi Maru got off his platform and made his way to his quarters, saying, "I better go and rest then." He said, "Zetsu, wake me at dawn." White Zetsu said, "Okay, Kimi Maru." Black Zetsu responded, "Rest up." The following day's dawn, Kiri Gates Naruto had a tight hug on May. Naruto said, "I'll be back soon, my love," and May gave him a nod. May pulled away and said, "I just wish you could stay a little longer. Be safe, stay out of trouble, and remember to send me messages through your sharks." Naruto nodded. Naruto gave her a kiss on the lips and said, "I will. With love," he said. May grinned and said, "I love you too." Naruto then turned around and May parted. Naruto examined Yamato, Itachi, and Kakashi's battered and traumatized faces. Naruto said, "Kami, you look even worse in daylight." He then took his sword from the ground and placed it on his back. Rubbing his jaw, Yamato remarked, "My face hurts. I'm glad no one can see mine. I only got drunk. No drugs or hookers, but she still punished me," Itachi uttered while wearing an Anbu mask. "My balls hurt," Kakashi uttered as he reached down and removed his liquefied ice. He then took out another one and pushed it down his trousers, thinking, "Oh yeah, that's the stuff." As the 4 started to walk away, Kakashi exclaimed, "Let's go already." Naruto said, "So Weasel," to Itachi as they were strolling down the street. "Where are we going?" he inquired. "To Taki to see Fu," Itachi said. "We are going there to ensure she's safe and to escort her to Konoha in order to protect her since Taki does not have the manpower or the skill to defend her," he stated. "Awesome. It's been forever since I've seen Fu," Naruto walked down the road toward Taki in an unwelcome reunion, saying, "Well, let's go. We have a lot to catch up on." Alongside Itachi, Yamato, Kakashi, and Naruto. 2 days following their departure from Kiri. To go get Fu, Naruto, Itachi, Kakashi, and Yamato were all strolling down the road toward Taki. As they did so, Naruto glanced over at Itachi. "So, Weasel, you and Fu are an item, right?" Itachi nodded as Naruto asked, "Is she okay with you being with Boar?" "To Yuya." Itachi nodded. "Yeah, she's fine with it," Itachi replied. "I need to rebuild my clan after all. Besides, she and Boar get along very well," he replied. Itachi turned to face everyone and said, "I still need to find another 2 women, but I am currently talking to another girl back in Konoha." "Huh? Really, who?" inquired Kakashi. Meanwhile, the Inuzuka compound in Konoha. Itachi was on a mission right now and wouldn't return until at least the end of the week, so Hana Inuzuka was searching through her closet for some nice clothes to wear for their date. As Hana opened her closet and saw all of her hospital scrubs and shinobi uniforms, she thought, "Holy shit, I really have nothing to wear. Oh god, I'm in trouble." Then Hana bolted from her room, running into the living room where Sume, Hiruzen, and Tobirama were playing. "Mom, emergency. I don't have any cloths to wear on my date with Itachi," said Hana. Sume said, "Honey, you're 18 and a Chunin." Sume nodded as Hana continued, "And I've never been on a date. If I show up in my shinobi gear, I'll stand out like a sore thumb." Sume nodded as Hiruzen said, "Go take Hana shopping. Me and Tobirama here can hold down the fort." Sume kissed Hiruzen on the cheek and said, "Okay honey, let's go Hana. Let's doll you up." As they left. When Hiruzen was left alone with his son, a smile appeared on his face. "All right, son," Hiruzen said, gathering Tobirama up and settling him onto the couch. "Let's watch some TV," he added, flicking on the television. He said, "Ah, my favorite western, sword oil, gun smoke," as the television came to life and an action sequence was about to begin. "Oh, and a showdown too," he continued. Tobirama watched 2 samurai engage in combat, and when the good samurai killed the evil Ronin, he exclaimed in amazement, causing Hiruzen to chuckle. In Taki. Alongside Fu, although Fu's little house in the woods was only a short distance from the village, she could still walk there. She was humming to herself as she packed her clothes. "All right," Fu replied, glancing down at her 3 scrolls containing her belongings: clothes, furniture, cookware, and shinobi gear. She crossed everything off her list. "Excellent. Everything packed up except for my sleeping bag," Fu exclaimed, turning to face her living space. "Now I just have to wait for..." Fu started, but then there was a knock on the door. Fu thought, "They're here," as she skipped over and opened the door. "Hey, what took you so?" Fu started, but she stopped to consider the 2 men in red clouds and black cloaks who were waiting for her at the door. There stood a boy with purple eyes and white hair, but it was the boy with black hair and Sharingan that unnerved her, thought Itachi Fu. Looking at the girl with green hair, Sasuke asked, "Are you Fu?" Fu flinched at this, and Sasuke only needed to see it to be true. "Please come with us," Sasuke said, his Sharingan glowing. "I apologize, but I have a boyfriend," Fu said as she shut the door, fastened the chain, and secured it. She then hurried back to her room to retrieve her scrolls. As soon as she got to her room, the door blew open, letting the white-haired boy enter with a strange-looking sword. As he entered the house, Suigetsu exclaimed, "I'm so glad you decided to do that. I was just itching to use Kabutowari on something," he said, turning to face Fu. The sword resembled an axe and had a large blunt side. A hammer was attached to the handle by a rope. Fu leapt out of her window and started running through the forest in the direction of the village. "I have to warn Shibuki," she thought to herself. "Crap, how did these guys get past our defenses?" Fu was completely shocked by what she saw as she ran up a hill. Fu heard footsteps behind her and saw that her 2 pursuers had caught up to Taki, who was on fire and could hear fighting going on in the middle of the village. "Well, you didn't get too far, hey Sasuke. Can I cut off a limb or 2? Suigetsu asked, to which Sasuke scoffed. Pulling out his katana, Sasuke said, "I don't care, as long as you don't kill her." After hearing this, Fu put the pieces together. Gazing at Sasuke and Suigetsu, she thought, "Sasuke, Itachi's missing brother. He's in the Akatsuki." Fu gulped deeply and balled her fists. "Okay then," she said, spreading her wings. Let's get to it, Fu continued. Alongside Yamato, Kakashi, Itachi, and Naruto. Naruto and the others were approaching Taki on the road when Kakashi looked up and noticed several clouds of black smoke. What the hell? Kakashi exclaimed, grabbing everyone's attention. Naruto exclaimed, that can't be good. Everyone started running down the road, and Itachi exclaimed, let's hurry. After about 3 minutes of running at full speed, they arrived at the village gate entrance in front of a massive waterfall. They ran up and pulled out a kunai, and there stood a lone Taki genin. His hands trembling from nervousness, he commanded, halt, don't move. Who are you? Why are you here? He questioned. Giving the boy a scroll addressed to Taki, Yamato said, we are here to get your Jinchuriki and escort her to Konoha. What is happening here? The boy inquired. Itachi moaned as the genin declared, the village is under attack. The Chunin and Jonin gate guards went to go and fight them, leaving me here. Damn it. Itachi replied. Naruto. Make a dozen clones to help him stand guard. Naruto made 6 shadow and 6 water clones, nodded to Itachi, and said, please open the gates, we'll help as much as we can. The genin shook his head. But how do I know if you're on my side? He replied. Naruto nodded at the child and said, if we weren't, we would have killed you by now. As he passed through hand signs and came to a stop, the genin exclaimed, fair point. Water style, parting rapids, and the waterfall parted and remained open, revealing the village burning on the other side. Hurry up. I can only hold it for a little while, said the man. Thanks, dude, Naruto exclaimed as he and the others dashed through the opening. However, as soon as they got past the waterfall and arrived at the village's edge, the opening closed and they were met with a horrifying sight. Naruto growled as he saw the rows of dead shinobi and villagers lining the streets. Motherfuckers, he yelled, his eyes slitting and turning red as he reached behind him to grab his sword. They're gonna fucking pay for murdering these people, he added. Itachi looked at the blonde swordsman and said, calm down, Naruto. Me and Naruto are going to secure Fu before anything else. Go into the village and stop the attack. Itachi said, I have a feeling my old organization has something to do with this. Kakashi and Yamato chased after the attacker while Itachi and Naruto fled. Alongside Yamato and Kakashi following the devastation and bloodstains, Kakashi and Yamato were sprinting through the village, coming across more and more dead shinobi and civilians. As they rounded a corner and heard the sound of steel clanging, Kakashi exclaimed, God damn, as he passed another corpse. Yamato stop, Kakashi ordered. Kakashi slid past a body that had an odd object protruding from it. As Kakashi took it out and held it up to Yamato, the latter questioned, what the hell is that? It's a bone sword, declared Kakashi. He said, I recognize who this is. Alongside Kimi Maru fighting 6 Taki ninja in his final curse mark form, Kimi Maru lost count of how many of them he had killed, but he was unable to slow down. As of now, Kimi Maru has been keeping the ninja in the village occupied by keeping the Taki ninja occupied while Sasuke and Suigetsu went to retrieve the 7 Tails container. With a katana in hand, a Taki ninja charged at Kimi Maru. However, Kimi Maru sidestepped the attack and impaled the man through the neck with his bone sword, killing him in a flurry of blood. 2 other ninja threw shuriken at him as his body hit the ground. Kimi Maru used his tail to swipe the projectiles, knocking them to the ground. Kimi Maru prepared to attack by pointing his fingers in the direction of the ninja and firing bones in their direction. After being struck twice in the head, once in the neck, and once in the chest, the first one died instantly. The other fell to the ground, his arteries severed by being struck in the neck twice. He rolled around on the ground in pain, trying to stop the flow of blood from his fatal wound. As more Taki ninja were slain, the 3 surviving ninja gritted their teeth. Goddammit, how hard is it to kill this bastard, a Jonin exclaimed, going through hand signals for water style. Water lance. The Jonin grasped the 6-foot long lance that had formed out of water, looking at his 2 surviving Chunin. Let get him, boys, he yelled as his Chunin pulled out their kunai and charged. Upon witnessing this, Kimi Maru flung his swords aside and extended his spine to serve as a spear. The first Taki Chunin struck him, clashing with his spear, while the second approached from behind. After kicking the Taki ninja in the back, Kimi Maru pulled his spear back and stabbed the second Chunin in the stomach, piercing it all the way through and killing him. The spear was pulled away, knocking the first Chunin off balance and sending him falling toward Kimi Maru, who then punched the ninja and made a spike out of his knuckles. The ninja was fatally stabbed in the brain by the spike that entered his eye and punched through his skull. Kimi Maru was able to parry the Jonin's stab just in time. Kimi Maru was using his spine spear to defend himself when the Taki Jonin attacked. The two ninjas engaged in a fast moving lancing battle, each using their own spear. A slash from the spine spear caused the Jonin to duck, and he then sent a thrust towards Kimi Maru's chest, striking him with a glancing blow that caused a wound to appear on his pectoral muscle. Kimi Maru, on the other hand, launched his counterattack without displaying any signs of pain from the wound. With a thrust toward the Jonin's head, Kimi Maru caused him to move his head, severing only his cheek with the spear's passage through his face. But Kimi Maru changed both his strategy and his weapon, his spine twisted back, encircling the Jonin's neck. "You performed better than the rest," Kimi Maru remarked, clenching his neck and killing the Jonin. However, it was insufficient, he added, letting him drop to the ground. Just as Kimi Maru turned to move, a wooden pole shot out of the ground and struck him in the chest. This sent Kimi Maru hurtling through the air and onto the ground. Where he landed, two figures dressed in Konoha clothes appeared. "I should have known it was you." With his Sharingan out and blazing, Kakashi pulled out a kunai and said, "You're going to pay for what you did. Yamato, you use your wood style to attack him from a distance. I'll hit him from close range," he said, to which Yamato nodded. "Okay, be careful," Yamato said. Kimi Maru was curious to hear this. "Wait, this is Tenzo. Lord Orochimaru's experiment on Mokaten," thought Kimi Maru, "so this is wood style. Interesting," Kimi Maru thought to himself as he assumed his position. Alongside Fu used evasive maneuvers to avoid a lightning fast strike from Sasuke. He then pulled out several kunai and threw them down towards Sasuke, who blocked them with his sword. Just as Fu was about to execute a jutsu, a barrage of water bullets struck her, causing her to fall toward the ground. Suigetsu charged at her, grinning as his water bullets struck her. "Ha! Got you now," he yelled, drawing back his sword to chop off her wings. He started to ask himself, what the he? As Suigetsu swung away from him, only to be struck and sent hurtling into the earth. When Sasuke saw this, he saw two figures land, one of whom was holding Fu and the other had water all over his fist. When Sasuke noticed Naruto, he narrowed his eyes. It was the first time in years that Naruto had turned to face Sasuke. "Kaizen!" Naruto yelled. "What the hell? Have you lost your damn mind?" While grabbing his sword. "You joined the Akatsuki." With a sneer, Sasuke turned to face his erstwhile colleague. "Stop it, loser," Sasuke uttered in a radiant Sharingan. He grinned and said, "I joined for power and I got it. I am more powerful than you ever could imagine. You should be a good test for my skills. An appetizer for when I fight Itachi," he stated. Sasuke froze at the words. "Why wait, little brother, from Itachi?" Then, Sasuke turned to face the man in the Anbu mask who was carrying a wounded Fu. Fu was pushed up against a tree by Itachi, who then removed his mask and said, "Hello Sasuke." At that moment, Sasuke's haughty personality gave way to a fury that had been building inside of him for almost 10 years. Sasuke yelled, "Suigetsu, you handle Naruto. Itachi is mine, forget the girl." Suigetsu stood back up, clutching his Kabutowari, and turned to face Naruto. Suigetsu grinned and said, "No problem, Sasuke. I have a problem with Blondie," he declared, flashing his shark teeth in a smile. "I want to finish what we started," Naruto said, grabbing his executioner's blade. Itachi pulled out his wakizashi sword and gave Sasuke a stern look before activating his Sharingan. Itachi stood up and said, "Okay, little brother. Let's get started, shall we?" Taki's outer edge. Naruto struck Suigetsu with his water. Infused, chakra. Infused executioner's blade. However, Suigetsu parried the blow with his Kabutowari, causing both of their blades to sever. Suigetsu was only able to hold Naruto back with one arm, but Naruto snarled as he pressed forward with both of his arms. As he lifted the hammer attached to his sword, Suigetsu remarked, "Hey, you're an even bigger dumbass than I thought. Now you'll see why it's called Helmet Splitter." He smiled, causing Naruto to widen his eyes. Suigetsu slammed the hammer onto the back of Naruto's sword before he could pull away, causing Naruto's feet to sink into the ground as Suigetsu's sword entered Naruto's sword halfway through the blade. With a single hand gesture, Naruto yelled, "Bastard," straining against the blow as he looked at Suigetsu with rage. Naruto then created a water bullet from one of his belt canteens and hurled it in Suigetsu's direction. Suigetsu took a direct blow to the chest, which sent him flying back, into a tree, and down to the ground. As Suigetsu stood back up, Naruto glared at his sword and yelled, "My sword! You nearly broke Zabuza's sword, you're gonna pay for that." Suigetsu reverted to his fighting stance and uttered, "Shut it, you blonde bastard. When I pry that sword from your cold dead corpse, I'll repair it." Naruto yelled, "Well, let's go, motherfucker," as he returned to his fighting stance. Alongside Itachi, Sasuke was swinging his sword at Itachi, who was easily blocking with his own sword. Itachi and Sasuke were currently engaged in a fairly one-sided battle. When Itachi decided to parry a thrust from Sasuke, Sasuke was knocked off balance and fell forward towards Itachi because he was so consumed with rage and vengeance that he was careless and distracted. Itachi gave Sasuke a kick to the stomach, taking away his breath, after driving his fist into his jaw, breaking his teeth and severing the inside of his cheek, causing him to spit up blood. Sasuke was sent flying backward and rolling on the ground by Itachi's leap and spin, and he then got back up and glared at Itachi. Itachi calmly asked, "Are you done with your little tantrum? If you calm down for a minute, I can." Just before Sasuke interrupted. With a look of pure rage and hatred in his eyes, Sasuke commanded, "Shut up." He then extended his left arm and directed his chakra, saying, "All I want is to see you dead. No more, no less." With his left hand, Sasuke created a Chidori, and as it crackled to life, he roared, "Now die," and charged at Itachi at full speed. Itachi sighed as he watched his brother sprint in his direction. From his perspective, Sasuke was moving slowly, and as Sasuke got closer, he thought to himself, "What an idiot." At the last second, Itachi threw his sword into his left hand and used his right to deflect Sasuke's Chidori to the side. With his jutsu failing to hit Itachi, Sasuke attempted to slash at Itachi with his sword. With a loud clang, Itachi used his own sword to block the attack. Just as Sasuke was about to launch another attack, Itachi ambushed him with a surprise blow. Using his leaf headband as a weapon, Itachi gave Sasuke a headbutt to the nose, causing him to stumble backward while clutching his broken nose. Itachi exclaimed, "Very well, little brother," and gave a radiant Sharingan. "I guess I have to beat some sense into you," he continued. Alongside Yamato and Kakashi with a thunderous, lightning blade. Roar. Kakashi pushed his lightning jutsu in Kimi Maru's direction. Kimi Maru, sensing Kakashi's approach, made a bone pillar out of the earth to protect himself. As Kimi Maru rounded the corner of the bone pillar to attack Kakashi, the latter withdrew his hand just in time to see Kakashi's lightning blade pierce the pillar, finally failing to break through. With his spine spear, Kimi Maru slashed at Kakashi, severing his Jonin vest and drawing blood, but this time, he did not cause any serious injuries. Just as he was about to launch another attack, a wooden pillar spiked in the stomach stopped him. After being hurled through a large window and into a building, Kimi Maru returned out of it with cuts and bleeding all over his stomach. "Are you okay, Kakashi?" Yamato asked, turning to face Kakashi, who was tending to his wound. "Yeah, I'm fine," Kakashi remarked, removing his ruined vest. "But I'm going to have a wicked scar on my chest." Kimi Maru referred to Kakashi and Yamato as such annoying pests, and pointed both of his hands at them, telling them to die. Kimi Maru then shot 20 bone bullets at Kakashi and Yamato with his fingertips. Yamato slammed his hands onto the ground instantly. A wall of wood materialized in front of Yamato and Kakashi, and he yelled, "Wood wall." The bone bullets struck the wall, though to varying degrees of success. 90% of the bone bullets were stopped halfway through the wall, but some still managed to pass through. While Yamato was struck in the shoulder and fell to the ground, Kakashi, using his Sharingan, managed to dodge one bullet and graze another. "Yamato!" Kakashi yelled. The instant he said that, the wood wall was struck and pierced, making the situation even worse. Kimi Maru then proceeded to the injured Jonin, piercing Yamato's wall with his bone lance. Kimi Maru skidded a few feet and Kakashi found himself between Yamato and Kimi Maru after Kimi Maru was kicked in the side of the head by Kakashi before he could finish off Yamato. Kakashi inquired, "Yamato, how's your wound?" Yamato moaned and removed a roll of gauze. As he started packing his wound with gauze, Yamato remarked, "I think he hit an artery. Don't worry about me. I can still assist," he added. "Just supply backup," Kakashi uttered as he pulled out 2 kunai and held one in each hand. "I got this," he exclaimed. Using a rakery, Kakashi charged both of the kunai, which were now covered in lightning. Alongside Naruto, Suigetsu swung his sword at Naruto, who attempted to dodge but was unsuccessful. Naruto struck Suigetsu with his half-broken sword, and Suigetsu ducked as Naruto's blade passed him without harm. Naruto winced in pain after receiving a cut across his right ribcage. Seeing his chance, Suigetsu launched another attack at Naruto, but the latter used his sword to parry the blow. As Suigetsu's sword collided with Naruto's, he raised his hammer once more and yelled, "Jackass," as he brought the hammer down. Naruto's sword broke in half as the hammer struck Suigetsu's blade, sending him flying across the clearing and landing and bouncing off the ground multiple times before coming to a stop. Raising himself to his knees, Naruto moaned as he saw his sword before him. He tried to reach out, but something chilled his blood. Naruto froze as he looked at his arm, which had been snapped in half, with his ulna and radius protruding through the skin. Suigetsu laughed and taunted, "Ha ha ha ha, what are you going to do? Broken sword, broken arm, you're fucked." But Suigetsu felt the weight of Naruto's glare as he screamed, "You broke Zabuza's sword. You're going to motherfucking pay." Suigetsu watched as red chakra started to emanate from Naruto and envelop him. In a matter of moments, Naruto had transformed into his red chakra fox armor. Suigetsu saw Naruto's right arm snap back into position and his fingers flex. "Waterboy, get ready to die," Naruto uttered while holding his broken sword. Naruto's sword started to glow red and he charged at Suigetsu, knowing that the foot of blade he had left would be more than enough to end the fight. Naruto struck Suigetsu, shocking him by raising his armored arm to block the blow after Suigetsu narrowly avoided the attack and countered with a swordsmanship slash. Suigetsu raised his hammer in an attempt to strike and potentially sever Naruto's arm, but Naruto withdrew his arm, causing Suigetsu to fall in his direction. Suigetsu was holding the Kabutowari with his arm, but Naruto took advantage of the situation to slash at him and cut off his arm with his broken sword. Suigetsu didn't feel any pain, but Naruto wasn't finished yet. Naruto struck Suigetsu once more, slashing him across his stomach as his water body failed to regenerate, causing Suigetsu to drop to his knees in agony. In a last-ditch attempt at survival, Suigetsu attempted to strike Naruto with the Kabutowari's hammer. However, Naruto dodged the blow and stopped Suigetsu's attack. Naruto stabbed Suigetsu in the chest with his glowing red broken sword, saying, "You lose." Suigetsu screamed as the blade started to boil and he started to steam. The screaming stopped after a short while when Suigetsu vanished into thin air. Naruto then examined the Kabutowari's hammer as it dropped to the ground. Lifting the Kabutowari with his left hand and his right hammer, Naruto raised his sword hand. "Holy shit, this thing is heavy," he thought to himself as he got a feel for the weapon. "But I don't have a lot of options," he thought to himself as he glanced in two different directions. Naruto started to run towards the main village, thinking to himself, Itachi can handle Sasuke pretty easy. I better go help Kakashi-sensei and Yamato." Alongside Itachi, Itachi remarked, "This is just getting sad, Sasuke," as he turned to face his younger brother, who was kneeling and covered in blood. Sasuke had several cuts and bruises all over his body, as well as a swollen eye. Sasuke stood up on unsteady legs and growled. Itachi sighed as Sasuke, breathing heavily, uttered the words, "I will not be denied, and I will not lose." Foolish little Itachi started, but then he sensed a presence behind him. He dodged the approaching Madara, who was trying to stab him after emerging from a vortex. Itachi leapt back and assumed a defensive stance, saying, "Madara," in a menacing way. Madara said, "Hello Itachi. Having fun with your little brother after all these years?" Itachi gave him a scowl. Itachi uttered, "Madara," while assuming a more stance. Sasuke gripped Madara's cloak and said, "Stay out of this. Itachi is mine and mine Al." Before Madara kicked him in the stomach. Madara intervened to save Sasuke when he passed out from a cough and lost consciousness. Madara gripped Sasuke and remarked, "Such arrogance, such foolishness. He couldn't beat you if you were still sick, let alone at full health." Madara uttered the words, "Right Itachi." Madara shook his head in response to Itachi's request to let him go. "He is still worth more to me than that girl there," Madara remarked, gesturing to Fu, who was leaning against a tree a short distance from Itachi. "It's better to sacrifice a pawn than a bishop," he added, starting to move away. With a Until next time. Gesture. Madara started to bend away. No, Itachi yelled as he hurled a kunai. Madara disappeared as soon as it got to him, and it unceremoniously lodged in a tree, earning him a curse. After gathering his thoughts, Itachi approached Fu and gave her a quick inspection. As he picked her up, Itachi noticed some minor bruises, possibly a concussion. I need to get her medical attention. Hopefully the others can handle the enemy without me, he reasoned. Alongside Yamato and Kakashi dizzy and a little cold, Yamato was hurling wooden pillars at Kimi Maru, who was evading his attack faster than he could fire them. He has been bleeding out for almost 15 minutes now, and trying to help Kakashi by spamming jutsu hasn't helped either. Trying to apply pressure to his wound, Yamato uttered, "Kakashi, I can't keep this up. I'm losing too much blood. Please wait for Naruto or the weasel to arrive." Kakashi yelled as he charged into Kimi Maru and struck her with his kunai covered in rakery. With his bone sword drawn, Kimi Maru deflected the attack and then used the weapon in his other hand to thrust Kakashi, who sidestepped and kicked Kimi Maru, striking him in the solar plexus. When Kakashi combined his two kunai, the sound of the rakery crackled even louder. He leapt to his feet and fell with an overhead chop. When Kimi Maru raised both of his swords in a X shape and the chop made contact, lightning started to fly around, striking both Kimi Maru and Kakashi. When Kimi Maru saw Kakashi approaching, he saw an opening and used it to create a bone spike on his heel. Kimi Maru then kicked Kakashi in the spinning heel. As Kimi Maru's heel spike approached Kakashi's abdomen, Kakashi made a last-ditch effort to block the spike by lifting his leg, puncturing his shin bone. When Kimi Maru pulled his bone spike out, Kakashi fell to the ground clutching his leg while he screamed in agony as the bone spike tore through his shin and broke it in half. Kimi Maru raised both of his swords in preparation to kill Kakashi, but before he could land the final blow, 3 wooden spikes pierced his back, stopping him in his tracks. When Kimi Maru turned to face Yamato, he was leaning against a power pole and had his arm outstretched. That was all I had left, Yamato thought to himself as he began to fade in and out of consciousness. Kimi Maru started to run towards Yamato in an attempt to kill him rather than Kakashi. When Kakashi saw this, he attempted to stand up but collapsed because his leg was nearly useless. Goddammit no, Kakashi thought to himself as he watched Kimi Maru sprint towards Yamato. Kimi Maru saw a red figure above him and was stopped again as he got closer to Yamato. "Sup asshole," Naruto yelled as he brought down Kabutowari on Kimi Maru. To thwart the attack, Kimi Maru calcified the bones in his right arm. Naruto's sword struck Kimi Maru's arm with a loud clang, and Naruto felt the impact as if he had struck a boulder. "You just messed up, dude," Naruto smirked as he raised the hammer portion of his sword. Then, he brought it down, slamming it against Kimi Maru's back and giving her a terrible cut. As it hit the ground, the sword sliced through Kimi Maru's arm. Gritting his teeth, he suppressed his scream and used his other arm to form a bone lance. When Naruto saw this, the bone lance struck him in the head. Most of the blow was absorbed by his fox armor helmet, but he still felt like his entire world had been shattered. Naruto's helmet cracked and broke off, sending him flying to the ground and hitting Kimi Maru with his sword. Dazed, but not for long, Naruto got back up and attacked her again with his shaky vision. Before Naruto could raise his hammer, Kimi Maru deflected the sword with the lance, moved closer to him, and gave him a vicious headbutt. Kimi Maru also made a spiked bone mark on his forehead. Naruto's head jerked back as the bone spike struck him, denting his headband. With his vision even more blurry, Naruto started to stagger back in a daze. In the meantime, Kimi Maru was furious and getting ready to launch his bone lance at Naruto's head. As Kimi Maru began his attack, he yelled, "Insolent pest, now die," and as his lance got dangerously close to Naruto's head, it burst into a shower of blood and brain matter. A lightning-covered kunai struck a wall as Kimi Maru's body collapsed, his spear narrowly missing Naruto's head. Kakashi, breathing heavily while admiring his creation, held out his hand. Just in time, Kakashi remarked, glancing at Naruto. "Naruto, are you okay?" he asked. Naruto gave only a thumbs up in response. Why? Naruto started, but he lost his balance and went down on his side. His arm broke open, exposing his broken arm and causing it to bleed profusely. As he dragged himself over to his fallen student, Kakashi yelled, "Naruto!" As he applied a tourniquet to Naruto's arm, Kakashi observed that he had a concussion, a broken arm, and a severed artery. Kakashi also noticed that clear fluid was coming out of Naruto's nose. Yamato, how are you doing? Kakashi asked, turning to face Yamato. Naruto, hold on. I'll get you a doctor, Kakashi said. But when Kakashi turned to face Yamato, all he saw was a power pole covered in blood. Yamato, Kakashi said, looking perplexed. Alongside Madara outside Taki while Madara was waiting with Sasuke unconscious on the ground, he noticed the earth rising a short distance away. We're back! Exclaimed White Zetsu, and look what we have! Exclaimed Black Zetsu, as they fully surfaced from the earth. Zetsu carrying a barely conscious Yamato over his shoulder. Madara laughed when she saw this. Maybe this mission wasn't a complete failure after all, Madara stated.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.